It's been 4 years since he was gone. They found nothing but his scent. No one saw him disappear. His mom was only gone for a minute. What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? How could you live with yourself? I'm sure he thought you were his friend. He's just a child with no defense. His voice full of innocence. What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? How could you live with yourself? I'm sure he thought you were his friend. He's just a child with no defense. His voice full of innocence. What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael? What happened to Michael?
And so, I asked the police chief earlier today, what is your gut tell you? What are you thinking at this point? And he didn't want to classify this with any kind of label or title. He just basically said, Dan, we are hopeful, but we're not where we need to be. And he really emphasized that there are still people out there with information. And he says during this investigation that they've discovered that people are coming forward with new versions or new stories or new things during this time frame. And he's thinking to himself, you didn't tell us this 2 months ago, and it just has evolved. And so he really wants the information to get out there, the message to get out there, that there are people that have to come forward. Even if, if nobody has contacted you from law enforcement, you should come forward if you're in that area that day or if you know something.
What a special day for a sweet boy such as Michael Vaughan. Although we can't see you, we feel you. The world sends you love. Hey guys, let me know if it's still buffering. I don't know what's going on, but just let me know if you can hear me first. Maybe that would be good. No sound? Okay. Oh, I hear myself. So you can at least hear me, right? That's at least something, if you can hear me. We have a lot to go over, so we're going to figure this out because this is a very crucial day. And also, it is Michael Vaughan's birthday today. He would be 10 years old. The big 10. And I could only imagine how many family members and people that loved and knew Michael Vaughan could be feeling today. And I understand, wanting to keep that sacred for him. So I just want to say happy birthday, Michael Vaughan. It's also Brandon Shirtliff. It's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Brandon. And also, there's like 4 other people that I know that have a birthday today, but they have nothing to do with the YouTube streets. However, it's just amazing how many people have shared this birthday. And that's just where I'll leave it. 10 years old today. That's how old he would be. And this channel definitely feels that I feel that the suspects are not involved, at least Stacey, Sarah, and Brandon Shirtliff. I believe that if anyone was involved, it was purely unknowing circumstantial. That's where I'm at. But I don't want you to feel any certain type of way. That's just where I'm at, and I don't want to make you feel like I'm any other way than that. I do believe in their innocence. So again, I don't mind if you feel any other way than that, or if you feel the same. That's just where I stand. Okay, good. You can hear me. Let me say hi to everybody. We have a lot to discuss. I am so nervous. I have not read this motion to dismiss, but I'm going to say hi to everybody before we get into all of that stuff, because of course it's going to be reading, motions, which I probably will put half of you to sleep, but we're going to go into it. We're going to get into whatever's said, and I am nervous actually. I think that I'm nervous because I know that this is meaningful. This motion to dismiss is very meaningful. I just feel it. And it's going to give, I think, some light to some things that people have been misconstruing on purpose. And cannot wait to buck that system, because a lot of things that have been portrayed on Michael's case from those closest to Michael, it's really mind-blowing and shocking how, first of all, well they have done to try to convince the public of one way on this case. And secondly, the retaliation you get if you buck that system, right? You can't even fart wrong or look in that direction without getting some hate and threats if you do not agree with the narrative being pushed. So for all of those who survived that throughout the years, along with me, thank you for being here. You're strong. I know it wasn't easy, but here we are. And for Michael's birthday, I think it's only fair to go over case information in regards to why he can't celebrate his birthday with his loved ones. I think that would be the best way to advocate for him in my way, because that's all I can do. Hello, kids and dogs unattended. Oh my, happy birthday, Michael. Justice is coming. You are correct. Miss Ruba, welcome in. Happy birthday, Michael. Absolutely, bitch, please. Happy birthday, Michael. Who else is here? Sunflower Soul, of course, my sweet friend. Thank you for being here. KMA Haters No Sound. Thank you for letting me know that, guys. I'm sorry about that. I have to figure that out. I don't know why it does that. Brandon drinking a beer in a hot tub somewhere. That is probably true. That's funny. I'll probably send that to him and see what he says. Or maybe he'll come into the chat. Who knows? Perhaps. I mean, look, it's only fair that if you're going to be called a child harmer and kidnapper, it's only fair that you would have the right to not only have a place where you say that no, that's not true, but secondly, have at least someone in this world that can let him feel or breathe. Because again, there's no evidence in this case whatsoever that a crime even occurred, especially in the way Sir Stacey Wondra said it. Because as we all know, you cannot take the words of Stacey Wondra at face value. In any way, shape, or form, you will be sadly mistaken if you think it's truth. So, Chrissy Cat, hello, welcome in. Hit that like button while you're here. It's easy. It takes a millisecond. And it helps your girl get into the algorithm for Michael Vaughan to get the right justice, the justice that actually is the truth. That's right, justice for Michael. Okay. So, the first thing that we want to get into isn't necessarily the motion to dismiss just yet. A lot of people had some confusion on the trial dates. Like, why on my courts does it say under the docket for Stacey Wondra's trial, why is it only through September instead of October, right? Well, I'm not sure about that, but what I can tell you is that there is a notice of hearings that were filed, and we'll just go through it and clear that up right now, get that out of the way. All right. Now, if you're new here, I guess I should have started out with the basics, as I usually do. If you're wondering who is Stacey Wondra, what is this case about, who's on trial, let me explain. Michael Vaughan, in 2021, July 27th, was a 5-year-old boy that went missing around his home, allegedly in the evening time in Fruitland, Idaho. He was never seen on CCTV footage. It was never reported at that time that anyone had saw him at all. But now we know that a registered sex offender did see Michael Vaughan on a tricycle, allegedly, that was never caught on CCTV footage. And that just so happened to be the next door neighbor of Stacey and Sarah Wondra. Now, Stacey lives about a 4-minute walk away from Michael's home in a different subdivision called Hidden Meadows. And it was about like a 1.5-minute drive at most. So no one knew except for maybe the people closest to Michael, who was getting information from detectives, perhaps. We did not know that Dorothy Starkey, the registered sex offender, who was then used to be married to Carson Starkey, who actually lived at the home right next door to the Wondras. Dorothy had split up with Carson long ago, but they still maintain friendship. And somehow Dorothy Starkey ended up living with the Wondras for a short time because she was homeless and they wanted to help out. And then once this happened with Michael Vaughan's disappearance, they kicked her to the curb pretty quickly, and didn't want to really associate with Carson either. So that's where we're at that point. Other than that, Michael has never been seen, as far as we know, by anyone else other than Dorothy, if you believe that, which I don't. And we'll get to that another day. So so let me back up. I'm sorry. How we got to this trial of Stacey Wondra was that the detective was given some footage of, the neighborhood and CCTV footage from different sources, including the FBI. And she was looking at footage at the splash pad, which is about a block and a half away from Michael's home that he used to play at and wandered at once or twice without parental supervision about a year before this all happened. But anyway, this detective was looking through footage in November of 2021 in regards to Michael's disappearance, the time, that day on July 27th, 2021. And she saw Stacey Wondra pull up into the splash pad, walk around to his vehicle, the other side, on the passenger side, to open his door to get a can of chew that slipped out of his hand or whatever. And then he got back into his vehicle and took off. He was only there a minute or less. That was enough suspicious for her to do a whole deep dive on him and investigate him. And Sarah Wondra and the sublets of the home, Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, who were just staying there here and there at that time. So that's it. That's what I guess kickstarted this whole thing into, questioning them, asking questions over a year period until there was an incident unrelated to Michael that the police were called. They go to jail, Sarah and Stacey, on federal gun charges because they were previous felons, okay? And in May of 2022, detectives want to pry into more information about Michael for some reason. And we still don't know to this very day what brought them back to them, except for I do know this. One of these, a sister of Michael Vaughan's father, thought it was suspicious that Stacey shared a Facebook picture of Michael very, very early on. And she thought suspicious because this photo was from the babysitter, which the family thought she was absolutely a suspect the whole time, which turned out to be a nothing burger. But just merely because Stacey shared the picture of Michael to get the word out, he was suspicious, and she had contacted police in April of 2022 to, I guess, let her know that, which I call bullshit. But that's for another day. So, yes, the family, in my opinion, I highly doubt that they will admit this today. The family knew about the Wondras. They just didn't know them. They knew of them. They were very aware. They had to have been if they made a tip to Juanita before November 2022 when the excavation happened in the backyard of Stacey Wondra because of a recanted confession of Stacey while in jail because, quote, he said he wanted to get out of, he wants his freedom. He's tired of being hemmed up on a gun charge. It's stupid. And then, mere minutes later, he's saying, yes, everybody else did it, but I had no involvement. Okay. Yeah, pulling up into a parking lot is the most suspicious thing you could do. Do not do that. You have to be, first of all, you need to be a psychic. Make sure that you know that a kidnapping or an alleged kidnapping is going to take place somewhere. So don't go there. Be a psychic. Know that that might happen. Stay away from that area. But if you just can't help yourself, make sure that you are far away from any CCTV footage, because if you're on it, guilty in the eyes of the Fruitland Police, specifically Juanita Kelleher, the detective. That's her logic. In my mind, that's what it is. It behooved me to listen to that about 16 times. My mouth was on the floor. I was bewildered. Gas was flabbered. I've never heard of such a horrible excuse for suspicion in my life, right? Because pulling into a parking lot, sus. Who cares about traffic? Someone call the admin. We've got to be serious. This is a very serious day, okay, guys? We gotta be on our game. I gotta be on my game, so I gotta get it together. But on your screen, you will see in the District Court of the 3rd Judicial District of the state of Idaho, in and for the County of Canyon, This case number, which is new, that's the new case number that you can look up anytime you want to see any, hearing updates. Maybe not timely, but it will pop up eventually. Hi, Mr. Eve. Welcome in. So the status conference is is on July 14th, 2026. So that's like what, 3 weeks? Not even. At 9 a.m. And then the pretrial conference is on August 4th at 9 a.m. And then the jury trial runs from September 14th all the way through October 16th, which is a month. 4-week trial. 4 weeks. No dog bones, no T-bones, no 10 Commandments. Yes, let's get it out. Shake it out. So yeah, just a 4-week trial in Canyon County. The venue has been changed from Payette County, where the alleged crime took place, per the prosecution. But they did get a change of venue granted because of a lot of different reasons. They felt like Stacey could not get a fair trial in Payette County because of the close-knit community, first of all, which is a good thing. That part's good, but not the bias part. And I don't think that they could get a jury that wouldn't have some sort of preconceived notion, because it's, again, tight-knit. So that would not be fair. And that could cause appellant issues, right? So if they knew that a jury was kind of sideways, but they had no choice because they didn't have anybody left to pick, might as well just ignore that whole situation, or avoid it rather, and go to Canyon. All right. Here's the interesting part. Just in case, Judge Whiting, I believe that's how you say it. I hope that's right. I thought it was Whiting, but I'm going to say Whiting. Judge Brent Whiting is the one that is going to rule over Stacey Wondra's trial. Okay? Now, there are alternate judges in case, Judge Whiting can't make it to a pretrial hearing or something. Something happens. Usually they reschedule, but this was interesting. I haven't seen this personally in a trial. So it says, notice is given that the presiding judge, which is Whiting, in the event of his or her absence, intends to use a panel of judges as alternates to preside at trial or any other hearing or proceeding. Notice is also given that if there are multiple defendants, meaning the other 3 that were named as suspects to the world in 2022, that would be Sarah Wondra, Stacey's then wife, Brandon Shurtleff, a roommate, and Adrian Lucien, who was just staying there for that time when Michael vanished. So if those 3 guys come on board and they try this together, which I highly doubt, but it's possible. I mean, you never know. So if they become co-defendants in this same case, and they have sufficient interest in common, the judge must determine if that's the case, and then so be required to join in any disqualification without cause. Meaning, we don't want you as a judge ruling this case, and we don't have to give you a reason why. Or whether they have an adverse interest, which I would say, such that each co-defendant would have the right to file one disqualification without cause. So there's 3 different potential disqualifications if they bring on the other 3 suspects and try them together, perhaps. So I don't know if that's even going to be a thing. I doubt it, but I'm just saying that's what it's written here for a reason. So the panel of alternate judges consists of Jonathan Brody, Mitch Brown, Cherry Copsey, Bradley Ford, Randall Grove, Junio Carrick, Gabriel McCarthy, which can't happen because he's been disqualified without cause by the defense. Gene Petty, Michael Reardon, Matthew Roker, Kylie Stucklick, David Vandervelde, Thomas Whitney, Brent Whiting, which is the judge, so Darla Williamson and Molly Husky. This list may include judges in addition to those previously identified. You may disqualify any judge in this list without cause as long as you have not previously disqualified a judge without cause. So that just depends on, I think, a bigger issue that with the co-defendant thing that I don't see happening. I don't even see this trial happening, guys, to be honest with you. I don't see it. But stranger things have happened, right? So, quick little thing for people that don't know or are new to this case. The lead defense attorney in Stacey Wondra's case is Anthony Geddes. He is just, I adore this guy. Just by listening to him. Never met him, don't know him. But the way he speaks and the way that he nails some of the egregious behavior, specifically by one detective in the preliminary hearing, was golden. If you haven't seen it, you must. I did a review on it. And wowzers. He was amazing. Isaiah Govia is the, he's the main potato, right? He's the boss man, if you will. He's more administrative, but he is on the case. And he, I think, rules over the 3rd Judicial District of Idaho when it comes to the public defenders. So he's a busy man. Abby Broyles is, I believe, she is on the defense, and she had questioned a few witnesses, including Brandy Neal. And she was kind of a bulldog with like a soft voice. She's one of those that just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, whoa, excuse me. She's a Elizabeth Little from the Karen Reed case, okay, if you're familiar with that. And that's it. So far, at least. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that information just in case something happened and you're like, oh yeah. So yeah, again, 1 month trial from September 14th to October 16th, if it lasts that long. 4 weeks. Boom. Any questions in the chat? Where is, yeah, he does know his stuff. He sure does. Where is Sarah at this time? She is in Idaho jail in Boise or Kuna, one of the two. And she will have her hearing for parole to be released in October of 2027. So, or is it this year? Cannot remember. I think it's this year, right? Yeah, this year. October of 2026, she will have her parole meeting then. And if she is not taken into Payette County Jail, she walks a free woman. Meaning if they don't charge her, meaning Payette County might do, prosecutor doesn't charge her, she walks out. But if he does, they transfer her to Payette to be indicted, I guess, or to be arraigned. And that's where we're at with Sarah. Which there is something coming down the pipes with that one, and in favor of her, I believe. Sunflower, he is well spoken without being aggressive. Yeah, Tony, I agree. He gets to the point. That's right. Especially when he said, "You're just making that up, aren't you?" About her belief that Stacey was correcting himself when in fact he was just stating, instead of remembering something, he remembered Sarah saying something. The amount of, what's the word? Detective Kelleher, it blows my mind how she can come to a very innocent point and turn it into the Satan's party house by the end of it. I think Sarah was exactly right when she said she just goes with whatever comes out of her mind and her mouth, and like a storybook writer. I think she's right. I think she just says whatever comes out, and that's what she goes with, because it makes no sense. Absolutely makes no sense. He's professional, and he doesn't say every 5 minutes like Duke. No kidding. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can handle that. I guess we'll have to if we have to. So let's look at the motion to dismiss. Let's just look at the basic motion to dismiss, and then we'll look at the memorandum, which was amended yesterday and filed yesterday. And we'll go over that and see if there's anything that changed. I have not read a thing on these motion to dismiss and memorandums. I haven't read anything. So I'm coming in here blind, fresh, no biases. Again, I have not read this. All right. Motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause. Count 1, murder in the first degree. Kidnapping in the second degree. And then, what is this one? I guess it ran out of room, but I guess the other one was, destruction of evidence, basically. Tampering, destroying, alteration of evidence. All right. Comes now, Stacey Wondra. Can y'all hear me okay? Let me take a drink of water. Sunflower, I'm nervous too. Excuse my nervousness. I just know that it's going to affect me because I have been, working hard on this thing for years. So I'm just nervous because I know it's going to come in like a wrecking ball in my heart, right? Okay. Comes now, Stacey Wondra, the defendant above named by and through counsel of record, Anthony Geddes, Isaiah Govia, and Abby Broyles, and moves this court to find that the magistrate court erred in the finding of probable cause and to dismiss counts 1, first-degree murder, and 2, second-degree kidnapping, of the information pursuant to Idaho Code 19-815A. In furtherance of this motion, the defense has submitted a memorandum in support, filed this same date, and request a hearing at court and counsel's earliest convenience, dated this 18th of June, 2026. All right. Next, let's see what's going on. That was pretty easy cheesy. Like I said, the memorandum is where the juice is, the beefiness is, right? And I was not wrong. So there are 2, again, memorandums. One was filed on the 18th, and then there was a amended memorandum in support of this motion. So I'm going to look at the latest and greatest, okay, and see if they explain what's the change. Again, I have not read a thing, so I'm going in blind. So I'll have to figure it out as I go, and thank you for being here with me. All right, this was filed on the 23rd, yesterday at 5 o'clock. That was like last minute. Amended memorandum in support of defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause pursuant to that same Idaho Code 19-815A. Comes now, the defendant, Stacey James Wondra, by and through his attorneys, Anthony Geddes, Isaiah Govia, Abby Broyles, and the Idaho State Public Defender, and hereby moves this honorable court for an order pursuant to that 19-815A, dismissing the information on the grounds that the magistrate court held the defendant to answer without reasonable or probable cause to believe that the defendant has committed the crime for which he is being held to answer. Right? Wow. That's it. If you want to put it up in a little bow and somebody asks you, what is this motion again to dismiss? Yeah. Basically, they don't feel like the magistrate court proved their probable cause. Oh, okay. Well, what did they say? Why? And that's where the juice is. So, the defendant respectfully submits this motion in brief in support of motion. The statement of the case, this is just the nature of what he is being charged with and the background of why. Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. Okay, in the disappearance and presumed murder of Michael Vaughan. The magistrate court bound the case over to the district court following a 3 long-ass day contested preliminary hearing. Mr. Wondra asserts that probable cause did not exist for the court to find that he committed the crimes of, again, first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, where the only evidence presented by the state at the preliminary hearing were hours of interviews over 3 separate days between law enforcement and Mr. Wondra. During the interviews, Mr. Wondra speculated at the urging of the Fruitland Police Department as to what must have happened based on what he saw other people doing. If you have not seen the preliminary footage of Stacey Wondra talking to Chris Madonna from the Cold Case Foundation, the interview room, Juanita Kelleher from the Fruitland Police Department, as well as Detective Scott Crimmen from the Fruitland Police Department. If you haven't watched those, basically, I'm going to give you a rundown really fast. It starts out, I called you down here because you talked to my mother, Stacey's mom. I'm acting like Stacey right now. I called you in because I was told by my mom that she's the relayer of information, because Juanita Kelleher called her and wanted to talk to her to see what she could do to help her with Michael Vaughan's case, so he didn't feel interrogated, per her testimony, okay? So he's like, "What? I heard about some kind of a deal being made with Sarah, and I want to know what you meant by that. What do you mean? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I gave you everything that I thought at the time when you interviewed me on November 5th and 6th, which was just 5 days prior to this conversation, this interview. I'd given you everything that I could think of. So there comes a point where I don't know what else to do and give you. I would love to help search. I will do whatever it takes to get out of this damn jail cell. What can I do for you guys?" And then it switches to, "We don't think that you're being honest with us." The police. This is the police talking. Specifically Juanita and Chris and Scott. "We don't think that you've told us everything about that day." And it basically snowballs into this getting into Stacey's head that he's going to get a deal. He's going to get out of this federal gun charge because the prosecutor is just a phone call away. There are certain things that are being said that Chris Madonna knows damn well what they are, even though he already knew, or he should have been told by those detectives, that Stacey Wondra, was prone to false confessing. The FBI told these detectives this, that he was specifically prone to it. This is the behavioral analysis unit. Chris Madonna talks about them frequently, has them on his show frequently. So either way you look at it, he should have had some kind of inkling or some kind of insight, right? But I digress. It turns out to be, "We know who kidnapped him, Stacey. We know you know. Tell us what you know." And he goes, "Well, how do I have a guarantee? How do I have a guarantee? I don't want to be hemmed up on this freaking gun charge. It's stupid." And Chris is like, "Yes, we know. I believe you. I believe you." And basically he gets to a point where he's like, "Yes, everybody did it. I didn't have anything to do with it." And starts making shit up, in my opinion, or telling things that either has been relayed to him or he's just going on the fly, because that's what he told me and the world. Stacey did on YouTube. So this is where we're at. He recants his confession. He has said it to KTVB. He has said it to the world via YouTube. His statement is, "I lied about the confession," which happens. If you don't think it does, it does. they have exonerated people who have false confessed more so than wrongful convictions without the confession. There are more false convictions being overturned than not confessing. And that includes corruption, that includes framing, all of those things. So it happens. Believe it. There's statistics out there. You can see every case ever turned over or exonerated by a false confession. It's at your fingertips. Believe that it does happen because it's the truth. All right. Statement of the facts and course of proceedings. On July 27th, 2021, Michael Vaughan, a 5-year-old boy living in Fruitland, Idaho, went missing and was never found. After an intensive search involving multiple agencies and utilizing exhaustive resources, law enforcement began focusing on Stacey and Sarah Wondra, who rented a home in the subdivision within half a mile of Michael Vaughan's home. On August 2nd and 3rd, a live scent canine unit searched the surrounding neighborhoods and reportedly showed interest in one house located at 1102 Red Wing in Fruitland. Now, let's stop there right now. Live scent. Where did they get the live scent? Well, we know Dustin Witt testified that he ran his lovely Banshee through because the FBI requested his assistance. This is a Merced County sheriff in California who has then had a beautiful dog named Banshee who was excellent at her job. She was amazing. Okay, she found missing kids. She found drugs that were hidden. She even found somebody that was running from the law up in I think a chicken coop or something. Like, it was insane. She went to Quantico for training. Banshee is the all-time MVP of live track sin, okay? And he testified that Banshee showed interest in the corner house. He wasn't sure of the address, so that's questionable. But he did say that it was 1102 Red Wing. He basically hinted at that. Now, live scent canine. What scent did Banshee have up her nose? Is the question that we need to have in our minds when we're going to read through this. Okay, what was in that nose when she was tracking something in relation to Michael? So the FBI had grabbed from Brandy Vaughan a pillowcase that she shared with Michael, meaning her scent particles are on it and his scent particles are on it, okay? There was a shoe taken of Michael's that obviously would have Michael's scent in it. But shoes that get mixed in with others in the house could contaminate the scent too. Highly unlikely with the shoe, but it can happen, right? So that's the important question about the canine scent. Who was Banshee actually tracking? Was it Michael? Was it a mix of Michael and Dad and Mom? And, that's the thing that we need to think about. Okay, this was the home of Stacey and Sarah. So again, Banshee showed interest in that house. So if Michael's shoe would obviously have him alive in it, and I'm not trying to be grotesque, I'm trying to make a point here. If this is Michael's live scent where he was not deceased at all yet, or ever, we don't know, and the pillowcase, we would hope that he wasn't deceased on the pillowcase, right? That would mean he was alive with the scent that was used by Banshee, right? So if they tracked him to 1102 Red Wing, he was alive at least. Or someone who had particles mixed in with him alive at some point when he was wearing the shoe or lying on the pillow was at 1102 Red Wing. Do you catch my drift, guys? It could not You cannot know for a fact if it was actually Michael's scent particles or if it was somebody in the home mixed in with his. And of course, the parents searched the whole neighborhood. So it's not like I'm trying to say that there was some nefarious dealings and they tracked maybe sister or brother or dad or mom to 1102 Red Wing, because wouldn't they want to search every single place? That's not suspicious. That's just how it is. So maybe Banshee was damn good at her job, but there's no way to know what scent she was tracking. But it was definitely somebody in the house. It could be Michael. It could be Michael and Dad. It could be Michael and Dad and Brady. Who knows? That's the point that I'm trying to make, I think. And if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but a lot of people really have a hard time with that. Really have a hard time. Good to see you, 120 acres. Welcome in. Thank you. Yeah, I respect the use of the word presume, says Miss Rubug, because it hasn't yet been actually proven Michael is deceased. And exactly. Yes, happy birthday to you, Michael. I am not going to name names in here. Only one drunk female I know of speaking with him for any period of time. Who? Oh, not to mention all of the phone calls with a certain YouTube creator that called him nonstop drunk. Oh, yeah, that was Brooks. That was Crime Lines and Lies. Absolutely. She called me drunk, too. Oof. That was the day. And I do have that recorded, but I wouldn't want to put somebody out like that unless you want to come at me. Most of them are on something. Grifters galore. It's so sad. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Cell phone tower data and surveillance footage established that Mr. Wondra and Sarah Wondra were in the neighborhood at the time of Michael's disappearance. It was also discovered that Stacey and Sarah had two house guests, Brandon Shurtleff and Adrian Lucian. Okay. On November 5th, 2022, Mr. Wondra contacted the Fruitland Police Department from the Washington County Jail where he was incarcerated on federal charges and requested that they come speak with him. He also requested to speak with detectives on November 10th, 2022, at which time he requested the same deal that was offered to Sarah. So this is new for me. I don't know about you guys. I did not know that Sir Stacey called Fruitland on the 5th, too. Put a 1 in the chat if you knew that and put a 2 if you did not. 222 for me. I had never heard that he contacted them on the 5th. Never. That's new. I always assumed it was the 5th. So keep that in mind. You might not think it's important, but it is. It has to be. Because that was left out of the whole, I think that was left out of the preliminary hearing, unless I'm mistaken, and I will correct myself. Yeah, even Miss Rubug. So if you said 2, then I'm not crazy. So why did he contact Mr. Wondra? Let's read it again. I'm sorry. Let me zoom in for our blind baddies like me. Who won't get her glasses because she's stubborn. On November 5th, 2022, Mr. Wondra contacted the Fruitland Police Department from the Washington County Jail where he was incarcerated on federal charges and requested that they come speak with him. Oh, did I lose sound? Don't say it. Okay, I didn't lose sound. Girl, bye. Don't scare me like that. They requested that they come speak with him about what? I guess it was about Michael too. I don't know. We'll have to see. During the course of several hours of interviews that Mr. Wondra had with law enforcement, he made numerous statements regarding what he saw Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian doing, including Sarah bringing Michael into their home, taping him up with duct tape, putting him in a duffel bag for transport, and placing the duffel bag in the back of their GMC truck in order to transport Michael to Brandon's mother's house in Kuna, Idaho. That was one of the things that he said he saw but didn't have involvement in. Okay? No, that's okay. Interesting. So Mr. Wondra told law enforcement that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian returned to Kuna the next day to discover that Michael had died. Okay, so the nexus for murder would be that you need to have a time and a date for when the victim was deceased. So I said nexus because I'm so used to looking up Indiana law. Excuse me, the elements of murder. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the party hat, Jules. Thank you. Oh, you sent a party hat for 20, Jules. I'm still so ignorant on this whole thing. It's new. But thank you so much. So that would, I guess, be the day that prosecutors would allege that's the nexus, because Stacey said it, because he is the most truthful person in the world. Never said a lie in his life, right? I'm being facetious. That would, I guess, be the day that they alleged he was deceased on the 28th of July, because he went missing on the 27th. Well, that wouldn't work, would it? Because nobody was ever buried in the backyard. How could that happen? That was what Stacey said. Stacey said Michael was in that backyard and you're going to go find him if you dig him up. But I better get that immunity, get out of jail free card. Right? So they brought the body back to the 1102 Red Wing house in Fruitland, where Sarah and Adrian dug a hole in their backyard and buried Michael while Brandon stood guard. Tell me how that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to bring him back to be caught, potentially? That's a lot of work. You would want to keep him at the place that he passed away in so the evidence doesn't go amok, right? Right? It doesn't make sense. They brought the body, but that would be, first of all, I don't see these 4 people having the kahunas to do that. Okay? And that's not a slight. I just don't see it in them. I really don't. Secondly, where would they have put him? Did the dogs hit at that location? We'll see. The cadaver dogs. On November 12, 2022, a search warrant was executed on the Wondra residence. All right. The entire backyard was excavated in an effort to locate Michael's body. No human remains were located, nor any evidence linking Michael to 1102 Red Wing Street. Wake up. Remember that. The entire backyard was excavated in an effort to locate Michael's body. No human remains were located, nor any evidence linking Michael to 1102 Red Wing Street. You could steam clean for months. You could bleach the entire house from top to bottom, which that didn't happen because if you saw the state of 1102 Red Wing, there was never bleach touched on those floors or those walls, okay? Never. No shame, but it's the truth. No human remains, no DNA evidence linking Michael to 1102 Red Wing says a lot, because there would have been something. There would have been something. On June 25th, 2025, a criminal complaint was filed charging Mr. Wondra with first-degree murder. It took them what was it, 2.5 years, over 2.5 years to wait to charge him while he was out of federal prison for a while, went back in for a probation violation, but whatever. They let a suspect just run amok. What took them so long? So they did charge him with the persistent violator charge. So if you have like a felony, or if you have like 3 felonies or something like that, you get an extra, 5 to 10 years, maybe even I think it's 10 years plus. It could be life. It just depends on how bad you are. But anyway, they put that persistent violator charge on in relation to the disappearance and presumed murder of Michael Vaughan. That's a hefty, hefty burden. Very much so. Mr. Wondra, who was incarcerated on other unrelated charges, was not immediately arraigned on the criminal complaint. No, he was not. He was brought before the court and counsel was appointed on November 17th, 2025. Okay. A contested preliminary hearing was held from March 3rd through 6th, 2026. At the preliminary hearing, no physical or forensic evidence was presented. At the preliminary hearing, no physical or forensic evidence was presented. To this day, Michael has never been found, and no independent witnesses testified that they claimed to have known what happened to him. No body crimes, no body convictions. When you have no body, literal body, corpus delicti, which the Idaho Supreme Court abandoned that practice. It's basically saying that you can't just say that somebody's admitted to a crime without zero evidence. They dropped that. Circumstantial evidence in Idaho is apparently a thing now. Boo on y'all for that. But anyway, there's nothing, no physical or forensic evidence. So successful nobody convictions in Idaho, there's only one. And the reason why that guy was convicted was obviously he did it. There was a witness that said they helped, and there was DNA blood evidence that suggested the amount of blood found obviously was her, the victim, and she was definitely deceased due to the volume. Okay, that's evidence. That's forensic. There is nothing. I could never convict somebody with nothing. I don't care what they said, because I know quite a few liars in this world. I wouldn't believe them ever. This being one of those situations of a false confession. Okay? So no evidence was presented that established that Mr. Wondra had anything to do with Michael's disappearance, other than his own statements to law enforcement regarding what he saw Sarah and Brandon and Adrian doing. Anybody could say anything. I would never want to hang my hat on that, especially from someone like Stacey, who lies intentionally all the time. The FBI even told those detectives that he was known to false confess, or he was specifically prone to false confess. Okay. On March 5th, 2026, during the preliminary hearing, the state amended the complaint in count 1, murder, by removing premeditation and focusing solely on the alternative felony murder theory. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, what does premeditation have to do with anything? Well, it means that you can't pursue a certain theory in the count 1 murder charge. And if it doesn't align with the evidence or lack of evidence you have, you're going to want to adjust your case for trial so that there's not issues that could be harmful for the prosecution, meaning things that couldn't come into evidence because it's too circumstantial. That's why, in my opinion, I'm no lawyer, no expert whatsoever. This is just what I see. So despite no evidence being presented that Mr. Wondra was involved in Michael's disappearance and presumed murder, the magistrate court bound the case over to the district court, which is where Whiting is presiding this trial. District court arraignment occurred on April 3rd, at which time a not guilty plea was entered. And Mr. Wondra requested the case be set for a speedy trial, which does not surprise me in the least. 120 acres. Perhaps they viewed him as the weakest link, someone to charge and wrap up the case. Exactly. Or maybe they're using him knowing that this isn't going to go anywhere to get to some other evidence that couldn't come in otherwise. Maybe there's a connection there to people that maybe took advantage of these people. Maybe there's a connection. And the only way to get to the truth of that is to put this guy through a trial or attempt to. We'll see. We'll see. That's just me speculating right now. Did the magistrate court err when it found probable cause? This is the issue. Sorry, I didn't mention that. The issue. Did the magistrate court err when it found probable cause and bound the case over to the district court without evidence that Mr. Wondra was involved in the kidnapping and presumed murder of Michael Vaughan? The elements of murder in this case is that there had to be another felony being committed, which is the kidnapping. They have to prove that those happened. And there's no evidence. Zero. So how are they going to do this, guys? How are they going to prove that a kidnapping, first of all, happened and that Stacey was the one that actually did it? Remember, he never did that. He just said that he took Michael to CUNA, which, if there's no evidence to suggest that, no cameras, no CCTV footage of Michael in the back of that GMC truck. How did that happen? You can't prove that unless you have the evidence, right? Okay, so the argument, and it looks a little beefy. So what did the court do? Again, this is a motion to dismiss 19-815A, a very specific motion to dismiss where it states that the preliminary hearing failed to establish probable cause with any evidence. Okay, that's the motion. So in relation to that, the magistrate court erred when it bound the case over to the district court without evidence that Mr. Wondra had any involvement in the alleged kidnapping and presumed murder of Michael Vaughan. Again, that is a crucial element. You can't just say somebody did it with nothing. You got to have a robust argument that he did it without any evidence. Introduction. Mr. Wondra asserts that the magistrate court erred in denying his motion to dismiss the state's case based upon the failure of the state to establish probable cause for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping. Specifically, the state failed to present evidence that Mr. Wondra was anything other than an observer of what happened to Michael Vaughan. The state failed to present evidence that Mr. Wondra was anything other than an observer of what happened to Michael Vaughan. Now, you have to think of this in the context of what the state is alleging, not what the defense thinks, what the state is alleging Stacey did. This is their burden to prove that their case is true. Right. The only evidence the state presented was Mr. Wondra's failure to report what he saw others doing with or to Michael Vaughan. Mr. Wondra is not a mandatory reporter and was under no legal obligation to report what he was witnessing, and therefore neither mens rea nor actus rea has been established linking Mr. Wondra to the charges of first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping in the act of or after the fact. He didn't. There's nothing linking him to that. He had no obligation to tell anyone anything. Now, a good person would have if this actually happened. But what the defense is trying to say is that, let's say the state is saying this happened. He had no obligation to go to the police. He wasn't involved. He said he wasn't involved in that conspire to kidnap Michael or a child. So, how are you going to prove that? The standard of review. Probable cause is the possession of information that would lead a person of ordinary care and prudence, someone that isn't a wackadoodle, someone that's not out there, to believe or entertain an honest and strong presumption that an individual who was placed under arrest is guilty of a crime. The legal standard applicable to a finding of probable cause at a prelim hearing does not require the state to prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's true. These prelim hearings are to see if it's reasonable enough to establish some cause, a very low standard. Rather, the state needs to show that a crime was committed and that there is probable cause to believe the defendant committed it. So I think a lot of people on the other side, the guilters, don't understand this logic. The state needs to show that a crime was committed, not that it was said to be committed, that it did in fact happen. So many people out there do not get this. It's so crucial. Please read that 100 times. A finding of probable cause must be based upon substantial evidence as to every material element of the offense charged. I was just talking about the elements. It must be based on substantial evidence as to every material element of the offense charged. And there are elements to kidnapping and there are elements to murder, first degree. This requirement may be satisfied through circumstantial evidence, and reasonable inferences to be drawn from that evidence by the committing magistrate, meaning Stacey saying it happened. That's the circumstantial evidence. A reviewing court will not substitute its judgment for that of the magistrate as to the weight of the evidence. The decision of the magistrate that there exists probable cause to hold a defendant to answer before the district court should be overturned only on a clear showing that the committing magistrate abused its discretion. When reviewing an alleged abuse of discretion, the court reviews 4 elements. So this is something that they are alleging. When reviewing an alleged abuse of discretion, the court reviews 4 elements. Whether the trial court correctly perceived the issue as one of discretion. 2, acted within the outer boundaries of its discretion, acted consistently with the legal standards applicable to the specific choices available to it, and reached its decision by the exercise of reason. State versus Moore is a very crucial case in regards to Stacey. I'm sure it'll be mentioned many times. I've read it entirely. It's crazy. This statute, Idaho Code 19-815A, makes it clear that if the district judge finds that the magistrate has held the defendant to answer without reasonable or probable cause to believe that the defendant has committed the crime for which he was held to answer, or finds that no public offense has been committed, he shall dismiss the complaint, commitment, or information and order the defendant discharged. Well, remember what they said here above. Let me go back up just real quick. There was no evidence, right? No human remains were located nor any evidence linking Michael to 1102 Red Wing, which is where part of this crime happened. No DNA evidence. Ever. All right. Go back down. So there's a failure. The magistrate court erred when it found probable cause that Mr. Wondra was involved in the kidnapping and presumed murder of Michael Vaughan. Right? There was insufficient evidence presented at the preliminary hearing to support a finding of probable cause for first-degree murder or second-degree kidnapping. I'm going to stop real quick and check in the chat because y'all are flying. Well, not really flying, but I know that y'all are talking a lot. I am still stuck on the evidence that a kidnapping occurred. Preach. Me too. And they saw this person or that person on camera but never saw Michael? Right. If in fact he was moved more than once, a couple vehicles would have hit on him being in it. Right. Well, did they get the right vehicles? Did they test other vehicles that are important? We shall see. It also violated a lot of rights. No kidding. Yeah, there was a lot of violations. All right. Again, there was insufficient evidence on these charges. At a preliminary hearing, the state is required to present evidence upon every material element of the offense charge, not just some of them, all of them. Right? Quesarisa, welcome in, love. I wouldn't give McDonald a glass of water even if he was on fire. Well, I mean, I might do that. I mean, I don't want harm to him, but I need him to cut the shit, right? I need him to cut it out. But these are real lives. And when Summer Wells is, a case that you just can't get past and you must have answers, don't use other missing child cases as your fodder because police don't want to deal with you. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the truth, in my opinion. Don't use other missing children cases to fluff up the one that you really want to get justice for. In my opinion, and I know that might sound harsh for you, McDonald lovers, but that's just how I feel. Lori says, so guess just wanting to take the Fruitland PD word. I wouldn't. I know. Bingo. Right. Okay, back to this. The state presents its theory of the charges, both through argument and by the complaint filed, and then the magistrate examines the charges from the state, along with the evidence presented to determine whether a public offense has been committed and if there is probable or sufficient cause to believe the defendant committed such offense. Pursuant to count 1, murder in the first degree, the state alleges that Mr. Wondra, on or about the 27th day of July, 2021, during the perpetration of a kidnapping, killed Michael Vaughan. But I thought it was the next day. Right? Because they had to bring him back from CUNA. So that can't happen. Which one is it? Which date is it? That's the element. You have to have a time and date. You have to have roughly an estimate. So, which day is it? Problem number 1. The relevant portion of Idaho Code, this one, defines murder as the unlawful killing of a human being. Okay. Idaho Code 184003 defines the degrees of murder or what is deemed felony murder in subsection D as any murder committed in the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate aggravated battery on a child under the age of 12 years of age, arson, rape, robbery, burglary, kidnapping, which is what this would be. In this case, is the kidnapping, is murder in the first degree. So you have to prove one of these to make it felonious murder. And again, kidnapping would be in this case. The relevant portion of Idaho Code 18405012 defines kidnapping as anyone who leads, takes, entices away, or detains a child under the age of 16 years. Okay. So the relevant portion of this case, in Stacey's case, is this code 18-45012, which defines kidnapping as anyone who leads, takes, entices away, or detains a child under the age of 16 years with intent to keep or conceal it from its custodial parent, guardian, or other person having lawful care or control thereof. So, intent matters in this element. People think that murder, you have to have an intent to do the murder when it comes to first or second degree murder. Well, it depends. The elements are different. Maybe you didn't intend to murder them, but you intended to cover it up. That's two different things. So the covering it up is the, felonious crime that you're committing in the act of that led to the aftermath of your murder. Does that make sense? And I had a hard time understanding this when it got complex, like in the Idaho, the Moscow murders. It was really boggling me, and I couldn't understand it. And I was trying to understand what the fight was with people online. But now I get it. Now I get it. It's more complicated. You have to have more proof within the murder category. There's things that make it complicated, and now I'm kind of understanding it as a dumbass from Texas, who just is infatuated with true crime cases because I lived one. So anyway, preliminary hearing day 1. The day of days. Lord have mercy. Shout out to the ladies who went there on my behalf as well. I couldn't be there for the preliminary hearings like I planned on, but shout out, ladies. All right, so the first day of preliminary, March 3rd or 4th. Was it the 4th? The evidence adduced at the preliminary hearing is that on July 27, 2021, 5-year-old Michael Vaughan lived with his parents, Brandy and Tyler Vaughan, baby sister Aria Vaughan, 2 step-siblings, Ben and Kira Tebow, and paternal grandfather Bob Vaughan at 911 Southwest Ninth Street in Fruitland, Idaho. Okay. Tyler Vaughan, the father, testified that at approximately 6:10 to 6:15 p.m., he went to wake up Aria, baby Aria, and saw Michael playing in the living room. That has changed before, but we'll leave that. When he returned at approximately 6:45 to 7 p.m., Michael was no longer in the living room. There's more to that, but okay. Tyler then testified that he turned the house upside down, and when he realized Michael was not in the house, he called his wife, Brandy, who was at work, and jumped in his van to drive around the neighborhood to look for Michael. That also changed from being on foot to driving back to then being on foot in the preliminary testimony. Tyler also testified that Michael tended to wander around the neighborhood looking for other kids to play with, that he had walked alone to a splash pad in the neighborhood, which was a year before his disappearance. Right. Sunflower, I definitely get it, which is why I'm so hung up on proof of a kidnapping. Right. Brandy Vaughan testified that she received a call from her husband Tyler at approximately 7 p.m. advising her that he couldn't find Michael. It's 7:05. She started to panic, and so she left work at Albertsons to go home and help try to find her son. When she arrived in the neighborhood, she also went to the splash pad to see if Michael was there. The police were called at approximately 7:20 p.m. Okay. Michael Vaughan was never found. And as this investigation continued, Brandy cooperated with law enforcement by providing items belonging to him that they could utilize with live scent tracking dogs. These items include one of Michael's shoes, a pillow, a blanket, and a stuffed monkey. Now, I had known by reading between the lines about the stuffed monkey. Okay? And it had been mentioned before by Brandy about the stuffed monkey. That maybe not others got to hear it publicly. Okay? Okay. So that had been a thing. So I believe the FBI got these items. Items were also provided that would likely contain Michael's DNA, such as toothbrushes. I do have that knowledge as well. Brandy also testified that everyone in the home provided DNA samples via mouth swab. During Brandy's search for Michael, she encountered neighbors where the Vaughans lived on 9th Street. They told her they had seen Michael on 9th Street at approximately 6:45 to 7 p.m. Oh no, that's not what Dorothy said. Dorothy said no, it was between 6:25 and 7:25, one of those. Somebody's lying. Brandy testified that Michael had never owned a big wheel tricycle, which would become relevant later into the investigation, and that the family executed waivers to allow law enforcement to search their home and property, which they did on at least 3 occasions, including with scent and cadaver canines. Okay. Yes, that he wandered off other times. But specifically, they asked if he had went to the splash pad, and Tyler and Brandy both said yeah. But he had wandered around looking for like 2 or 3 other times neighbor friends to play with him. By the time they knew he was missing, he was already on his way back home. So it was like, no biggie. That's what Tyler testified to. Okay, on August 2nd and 3rd of 2021, Dustin Witt, at the time a senior sergeant with the Merced County Sheriff's Office in California, was recruited by the FBI to travel to Idaho with his scent-specific trailing bloodhound Banshee. Rest in peace, Banshee, sweet girl. To search for Michael. I mean, that dog was certified a badass. I tell you, she was jumping out of aeroplanes. She was doing all of the things. She lived an awesome life. She lived a better life than I have to date. All right? Using scent obtained from one of Michael's shoes and pillowcase, the FBI directed Mr. Witt and Banshee to 6 or 8 different locations to determine where Michael might have been. So again, here we go. One of Michael's shoes and a pillowcase. That's what was used to do the live scent tracking, assuming Michael was alive on this pillow and alive in this shoe, right? They tracked him alive, as he normally is, right? To 1102 Red Wing, allegedly. Mr. Witt testified that Canine Banshee showed good trailing behavior at the corner of Meadowlark and Red Wing, the corner at which sits the home at 1102 Red Wing where Stacey and his wife Sarah were living. He further testified that Banshee cut across the yard, went to a fenced area where there was a garage, and generally showed interest in that area, like she was looking for a way into the yard. So Meadowlark and Red Wing is right before you go straight down the road to Red Wing on the opposite side of the road. Think of that in your mind if you know about this case very well. Good trailing scent area by Meadowlark and Red Wing. Okay. A detention deputy, Bryce Crimmin, who is Detective Scott Crimmin's son of the Fruitland Police Department, who was actively investigating this case. Okay. His son, Bryce Crimmin, testified that on November 12th, 2022, while Mr. Wondra was incarcerated at the Washington County Jail on unrelated federal charges, he helped facilitate a FaceTime call between Mr. Wondra and the investigating officers in an attempt to locate Michael's body. The information they obtained at the time led them to excavate the backyard at 1102 Red Wing. Deputy Crimmin also testified that at some point he became aware of a letter that Mr. Wondra was writing to the Vaughan family. This letter was contained in his property tote in his cell. The deputy received an email that advised him of this letter and that it was to be intercepted. Interesting. While Mr. Wondra was on suicide watch, Deputy Crimmin obtained the letter by going through personal items in Mr. Wondra's cell for the safety and security of the facility. This letter has become known as the Thanksgiving apology letter. Wow. Goodness gracious. My daddy. Daddy, are you proud of me, Daddy? For stealing the letter and sending you a snapshot, Daddy. Deputy Crimmin testified that he intercepted this letter and made a copy of it for investigating officers, one of whom was his father, Detective Bryce Crimmin. I think they meant Scott. They messed up, but that's okay. For whom one of his father, Detective Scott Crimmin, with the Fruitland Police Department. He went on to testify that he was instructed to return the letter to Mr. Wondra's cell, as it appeared to be a work in progress, and investigators wanted to see if Mr. Wondra would finish the letter. Well, at first he said that I wanted to see if he would finish it. No, well, I'm sure you did, but I'm sure Daddy did too. Right? Why wouldn't he? He's the investigative officer. I think of everything I heard, this is the one thing that seriously bothers me on so many levels. Really? Yeah. I mean, it bothers me too. He took it but gave it back to see if he'd finish it. Yeah. Super intercepted. He went the extra mile. He didn't go the green mile, but he went the blue mile. Okay. Deborah Hurlbert. Oh, Lord have mercy, this woman. Wide eyes. That's what she is. I don't mean to disrespect her, but yeah. Deborah Holbert, a canine handler of a human remains detection dog named Bannock, excuse me, was deployed to the backyard of 1102 Red Wing on November 13th of 2022. After the yard had been excavated. After the yard was excavated. Who even does that? You don't get your canine dogs to do it before you do the digging? Okay. She testified that Bannock very much pulled me to that property. Very much hunting. But while he did give a trained final alert, he was never able to pinpoint the exact location of where human remains might have been. She further testified that Bannock alerted in the far right corner of the yard. Which, how can that be? That's not what was said for Michael to be. Julie Gibson, a retired dog trainer who ran cadaver dogs with Mountain State's detection dogs, testified that she was also called in to help with the search for Michael on November 14th, 2022. She and her canine Yodi were deployed to the same excavated backyard to search for the presence of human remains. Miss Gibson testified that Yodi had a trained final response. Now, this is the same dog that went to Cuna, okay? Miss Gibson testified that Yodi had a trained final response along the edge of the house close to an irrigation box. The irrigation box pipes and dirt from around the box were excavated, and Yodi was redeployed. Okay? She did not alert again, but it was Miss Gibson's opinion that a body had been buried in that backyard at some point. Which means, honestly, nothing. It will to a jury, but to me, it means nothing. I have had 2 different local news stations broadcast a excavation that happened where dogs hit on something and then they failed. there was no remains ever there. And the police said there was no human remains ever there, at least in the recent years, meaning it was probably old bones way down deep, which ironically, Yodi and Bannock are trained to find. Old bones, bones from decades ago. That's what they are actually trained for. Interesting, isn't it? That's a confliction to me, that you would be trained in finding human remains, right? And also be trained in ancient bones? Okay. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because that's an entirely different subject matter. That's conflicting. Historic old bones. Thank you. She also testified that Yodi was deployed inside the home and in a crawl space of the home at 1102 Red Wing, but did not alert. Now, you guys have to remember that in 2021, they ran dogs. In November of 2021, they ran dogs through 1102 Red Wing and nothing came of it. No hits, no nothing. So why now all of a sudden in 2022 is there a hit? Investigating officers believe that a key piece of evidence in this case is a pink big wheel tricycle. Let me see if I can find that for you guys really fast. Tricycle. I want to ride my bicycle. Okay. Is it this one? I hope it's that one. Nope. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can find it on my channel. I think it's posted on my community page. There's definitely, it's just a big wheel in the front and the lower ones in the back. It's plastic. Yeah. Carson Starkey, a registered sex offender and neighbor of the Wondras, who sometimes did work for them, testified that he saw a pink big wheel tricycle inside the gate of the Wondras fence that is next to their property around the time of Michael's disappearance. Sure. Captain James Horst with the Idaho State Police, who was involved in the search. This guy's testimony is actually very crucial, so listen up, okay? Captain James Horst with the Idaho State Police, who was involved in the search for Michael Vaughan, testified that on August 5th, 2021, he discovered a pink big wheel tricycle behind a subdivision sign between some trees located at one of the subdivision entrances, the Bluffs sign. He secured the scene and alerted investigators at the time because he had previously been given information that one of the neighbors had seen Michael riding a pink big wheel tricycle. You would think Dorothy said that, but no. He was told by someone else that they heard Dorothy say that. So everyone thinks that Dorothy just came right out with it. Just, I saw him. No. Somebody else said that they witnessed her say that. And then she told police. That's a big deal. It was later learned that a neighbor, an accomplished tinkerer by the name of James Smith, found the big wheel tricycle over the bluffs off of 8th Street in some bushes. Okay. And took it home to see if he could scavenge some parts that might be useful for his wheelbarrow. He testified that this was approximately the last week of July 2021, but he ultimately gave that endeavor up and returned the tricycle to the area where Captain Horst later discovered it. So while they were searching between July 27th up until, what was it, when they found the tricycle on the 5th, right? No tricycle. Oh my God, there's one behind the bluff sign on the 5th, which James Witt admits, yeah, I put it there. I was going to use it. I didn't need it. There it is. But they're going to use this big tricycle as some sort of freaking connection to Stacey and Michael because Stacey said so. Because he's the all-knowing and all-innocent, truthful guy, right? He just tells the truth every day. I think not. Preliminary hearing day 2. Detective Juanita, I like how Tony says it, Juanita Kelleher, the lead detective in the case with the Fruitland Police Department, testified to the extensive multi-agency efforts to search for and locate Michael Vaughan. She testified that she and her law enforcement partners interviewed the occupants of the approximate 300 homes in the neighborhood, watched hours of security camera footage, and interviewed every one of the occupants of the 220 cars that they identified traveling in that neighborhood during the relevant time period, except for 8 of them. Remember, when law enforcement and civilian searchers scoured the area where Michael could have gone and found no trace, Detective Kelleher testified that they then transitioned from a walk-off to a bad actor theory kind of case. Detective, this is going to be my favorite part. If you want to get sass, you want to see some sass, get your ass, because this is where I'm going to get sassy. You can bet on it. And I just cannot help it when it comes to this detective. Detective Kelleher further testified that as the investigation progressed, her attention was drawn to Sarah and Stacey Wondra, as well as their 2 housemates, Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien. What first brought this household to her attention was the security footage she was reviewing from the splash pad area. She was watching footage of Kira Tebow walking home from school, and she noticed a white car, a Lexus, pulling into the splash pad. The driver, whom she describes as a heavy-set man, straddled 2 different spots, got out of the car, walked around the vehicle, and tested the door handle on the passenger side. Okay. While he was doing this, he had his head up, kind of looking around. He walked around the back of the car and waved at someone before getting back in. Oh my God, what is he doing? Evil. He looked up at somebody. My God. Cuff him. She testified that she found it odd that somebody would pull into the splash pad just to check a door handle directly before a child went missing. It turned out that the Lexus belonged to Stacey Wondra. My God. The horror. With this information in hand, Detective Kelleher pulled the neighborhood canvass form from the Wondra residence that was done in August by Boise Police. And in that report, it stated that Stacey and Sarah Wondra were not home that day, which was inconsistent with what she had just observed. Well, you could be at home and then leave home and say, I wasn't home. You have to you have to get out of the house to not be home, honey. I think she's misconstruing some words here, right? Sometime later, Mr. Wondra, who was in the Washington County Jail on unrelated federal charges, reached out to jail staff requesting to speak with detectives regarding the Michael Vaughan case. How did Bryce Crimmins and Stacey Wondra become so close to the point where he could reach out to Bryce and say, listen, I need to call them. Could you hit him up? It's almost like Stacey knew he was Daddy Crimmins' son. It's almost, I don't know, maybe I'm off. That's just the vibe I'm getting. There was a total of 3 interviews between Mr. Wondra and Detective Kelleher that were published at the preliminary hearing. The first on November 5th, the second on November 10th, and the third on November 12th. November 12th is the one that you see him, on the phone with Crimmins, Chris Madonna, and Juanita on the phone. Can you help me point this in the right direction? because, you know, they just needed a little bit more help in the year 2022 with technology and stuff and resources. They needed Stacey's help. Ooh-wee. All three of these interviews were played in their entirety at the preliminary hearing. Under cross-examination, Detective Kelleher testified that all three were recorded in their entirety. Bum, bum, bum. I have a feeling there's some untruths to that. I'm sorry. I gotta quit interjecting my own stuff here. All three of these interviews were played in their entirety at the preliminary hearing. Under cross-examination, Detective Kelleher testified that all three were recorded in their entirety. And those present were herself, Detective Primmon, and Chris McDonough from the Cold Case Foundation and the interview room. Don't forget his business. That's his moneymaker. Detective Kelleher testified that Mr. Wondra had been talking to his adopted mother, Tamara Johnson, and had been told that his wife Sarah was seeking a deal from detectives in exchange for information about Michael Vaughan. Mr. Wondra reached out to speak with detectives because he wanted the same deal as Sarah. Now, again, he gets it from his mother who talked to the detective. Do you see the slippery slope when you do that? Mama, is telling him, be a man. Sarah's being a big girl with her big girl panties on. She's going to tell them something and get a deal. What's wrong with you, Stacey? Get your ass in there and tell them something, because she's going to roll on you. And per her words to me, meaning Timmy, they were very convincing that they had enough evidence. Now we know there was none. All circumstantial. Mind blown on that one. She also admitted that Mr. Wondra seemed quite agitated because he felt like he had given detectives substantial information in the first interview on November 5th. And yet it seemed like Sarah was the one getting the deal. He was also anxious to take an eye test. The eye test. To prove that he's telling the truth. Detective Kelleher testified that she presumed he was referring to a test that's like a polygraph. You know damn well what it is, Miss Kelleher. You know what it is. Detective Kelleher testified that on several occasions, Mr. Wondra stated that he just wanted out, meaning out of custody, and that Sarah knows damn well I had nothing to do with this. I'm tired of being henned up on a gun charge. That's what he said. Right, y'all using me. Get out of my face, right. She testified that Mr. Wondra's story kept changing and that they kept coaching him to tell him the truth. And that he ultimately told her about what he saw happening to Michael Vaughan. On the day in question, he heard a door slam and assumed it was Sarah coming home. You know, like Kool-Aid Man. Got me a kid on my hip. Boom. He then saw her with Brandon and Adrian, and it was about 5:12 p.m. that Brandon had an orange or red normal-sized duffel bag with him, a.k.a. this Marlboro duffel bag. It was a promotional item back in the 90s or 80s or something. My mom had one that she sold as an antique, because they are collectibles. You don't get those anymore. And I think she got a pretty penny for those. They go for a few $100, just the basic ones. But anyway, during the interviews, Mr. Wondra told them that he thought Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian had taken the child to Ontario to sell or trade him to make money, but that he had nothing to do with it and didn't report what they were doing at the time because he was scared. So he thought Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian hop on over to Ontario to sell or trade him. But when did the kidnapping happen? We missed that entire section. We just go straight to Final Jeopardy here. That's interesting. Sarah and Adrian planned it, and the purpose was to make money. He also told them there wasn't a tricycle earlier, and then there was one. Why would somebody change their story from there wasn't a tricycle when we know it has nothing to do with this case at all? This tricycle might save Stacey Wondra's ass, to be honest with you. This might be a saving grace, this damn tricycle that everyone can't stand. Because this just proves that much more that Stacey was lying about this confession. It proves that, or helps prove the element of that. Because he just straight up lied. Yeah, I saw it. That's why I think, Dorothy and Carson having to say he was on a tricycle, there's something to that. Big fat lie. There must be something. Detective Kelleher asked Mr. Wondra what the tricycle was used for, and he told them it was to lure him. Okay. She asked him if this was a guess, and Mr. Wondra admitted that he was guessing. Okay, so that can go away. If the guilters were going to say that the tricycle was used to lure Michael, well, it says right here he was guessing at that. He wasn't for sure. Guessing is not evidence. He also told them that Adrian was the alpha in the room, but that Brandon and Adrian were following Sarah's lead. What is it with Kelleher and these alpha male-female role things? The gender shit's weird. I'm sorry. If you know, you know. Some of you might not know, but she references gender roles so many times in the preliminary hearing. It's concerning. Are you okay? Anyway, Mr. Wondra told detectives that it was Sarah and Adrian that did it, planned it, and carried it out. All right. So he's blaming everyone. Everyone but him. Okay. Specifically Sarah and Adrian. He even gives Brandon a bone. And not a dog bone. Just a regular bone. Not a T-bone. She asked Mr. Wondra if he helped them find the child. And he responded no. That he was pretty sure Michael was transported in the truck. And that he had nothing to do with it. During the interviews, he also spoke in percentages, which is a very well-known tactic when you're lying. Initially saying that he was 90% sure that Michael was transported in the duffel bag. Detective Kelleher testified that based on information they obtained from Mr. Wondra, the truthful one, right? They believe Michael had been placed in the duffel bag, put in the back of Mr. Wondra's maroon GMC pickup truck, and transported to Brandon's mother's house, located at 1125 Snowbell in Cuna. That doesn't sound right, but whatever. The address, but maybe that's a good thing. Mr. Wondra further told them that Sarah was driving, he was in the front passenger seat, and Brandon was in the back seat. Mr. Wondra told detectives that when they arrived at the Cuna location, Brandon took the duffel bag through the gate to the right of the garage and appeared to be taking a path that would avoid surveillance cameras so that his mother would not know that he had been at the house. He then indicated that Brandon told him that he had put the duffel bag in the spare bedroom. Detective Kelleher testified that the longer they questioned Mr. Wondra, the more details came out. Oh, about that. How you don't say. Why would that be? I better check in with chat and see what y'all are saying. So was Stacey's mother coached as well? Absolutely. In my opinion. Was she convinced prior that her son was guilty? Absolutely, in my opinion. She even said that to me. She was convinced. And now she's not. If they have all this proof and they said stuff they claim they did, where is Michael? Yeah, Stacey's mom was contacted by Juanita to try and talk to Stacey to get him to be honest about what happened. And Mike Duke threatened her with the same thing that they threatened Tina with. They have the death penalty in Idaho where they shoot you in the chest now. By death by firing squad. Which is a legal thing to do, apparently, for prosecutors to threaten your family members with that, so that you would talk or convince them to talk. I think it's egregious. I don't think it's right. I think that's constitutionally bullshit. But it's also just ethically and morally pathetic to have to do that or say that and get away with it as a prosecutor. You already have a lot of power. You don't need that much power. Yeah. Boy, y'all are on it today. Y'all are on it. Sunflower says, no one remembers exactly when this boy went missing, what he was wearing, or had visuals on him all over that neighborhood, but everyone seems to remember the exact movements of this damn tricycle. Right? It was here. It was there. It was everywhere. It was nowhere. I know. Cracks me up. Right. They have all this video, but do they have the video of the duffel bag? No, ma'am. Nope. Sure don't. Not that we're aware of. He eventually told them that Sarah walking in the house with Brandon and Adrian, and that Sarah was holding Michael close. Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Again, I have not read this yet. This is my first time, so some things are going to slap me in the face a little bit. He eventually told them that he saw Sarah walking in the house with Brandon and Adrian, and that Sarah was holding Michael close. She set him down on the right side of the couch. Mr. Wondra said he freaked out when he saw this, that he didn't want anything to do with it, and that he fled his room. Well, how would he know what was going on if he wasn't told? Hi, Matthew. Matthew, welcome in. Mr. Wondra said he freaked out when he saw this. Well, what did he see? Michael wasn't beat up or anything. That's what Juanita believes, and that's what he told her. So, how did he know without being told what was going on? That's interesting. Maybe he's making it up. While in his room, he heard duct tape being unrolled, and so he assumed that they were duct taping the child. What? You went to your room after assuming the worst. Maybe she found this kid hurt on the side of the road, and your bitch ass was like, I don't want anything to do with this, thinking the worst when she was trying to help him with a boo-boo or something. Like, how rude. How did he automatically know this was bad? Okay. When all of the information about Michael was after the fact. Everything was after the fact of the kidnapping, after the fact of the tow. Everyone was guilty by knowledge that he saw and heard. He had nothing to do with it. How the hell did Stacey Wondra know without being told? And assuming the worst. When Michael was being held close by Sarah, who had kidney and gallbladder issues so bad she couldn't walk or pee. I'm just being real with you guys. But she's going to hold it. Okay. Michael. Michael, whose nickname is a monkey. Michael Monkey. He's just going to let this Sarah just hold him close. Like, what are you saying here? I can't believe we're here. Sometimes I get really upset about it. Because this is stupid. Excuse me, in my opinion. He said he could hear him crying for his mom, and he was greatly troubled by what was happening. Mr. Wondra described how he came out of his bedroom and watched them duct tape the child, and that he had a stuffed animal. Although witnesses described seeing Michael Vaughan wearing flip-flops the last time he was seen, Mr. Wondra told detectives he was wearing tiny little tennis shoes. He was wearing pumps. He was wearing them high-top Michael Jordans. I'm just kidding. He was wearing nothing. Per Tyler Vaughan, his father, Michael's father. He doesn't remember seeing flip-flops. I have a feeling the flip-flop theory may be because there were no footprints found and something had to come out of nowhere to account for no footprints. That's what Juanita Keller testified to. There was no footprints. And he would have caught his flip-flop on something out there if he was walking in the fields. He would have lost a shoe or something. Because he wasn't walking in them properly, per the mother. This does not make any sense. It doesn't make a damn lick of sense. None of it. And it matters. These little things matter. Mr. Wondra repeatedly told detectives that he was greatly troubled by what was happening and repeatedly asked Sarah why in the fuck she would do that. He was sitting in his room freaking out and asking himself what in the fuck is going on right now. And that he went to his room because this is bullshit. Okay. This sounds like the worst script of a 1982 horror film. I mean, one of those low-budget VHS tape ones. This is terrible. Detective Kelleher testified that Mr. Wondra told her that while Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian weren't necessarily abusive to Michael, they were telling him to shut up. When Mr. Wondra was asked why he didn't do anything or why he didn't report it, he again responded that it was because he was scared. Okay. When Mr. Wondra was asked which car was used to pick up Michael, he answered that he didn't know. He wasn't there. I don't know. He was also asked if he had given Michael a toy, and he responded that he had not. And there is a whole story behind the toy that I'm pretty sure people don't want out. But it's going to come out. He went on to say that he thought Sarah had given him a toy. He also told detectives that he saw Michael's feet, hands, mouth duct taped, but he didn't see that the duct tape being applied. But he walked out. Hold on now. But it said that he walked out and saw it happening earlier. While in his room, he heard duct tape being unrolled. You know, the noise. And so he assumed that they were duct taping the child. Then he could hear him crying for his mom, and he was greatly troubled by what was happening. Mr. Wondra described how he came then out of his room and watched them duct tape the child, and that he had a stuffed animal. Another contradiction. And watched them duct tape the child, and that he had a stuffed animal. I mean, if this was based in reality, this would be a terrible, terrible thing to watch, to hear, to see, to happen. Sure. But did it? So here down here it says he saw Michael's feet, hands, and mouth duct tape, but that he didn't see the duct tape being applied. I'm confused. Am I crazy? I don't think so. I don't think I'm crazy. It's in the fucking paper. I'm not crazy. I'm not making things up. The narrative on the guilty side is telling you this, and guys, I'm not crazy. This is the truth of the matter. At one point in the interviews, investigators drew a map of 9th Street where Michael Vaughan lived and asked Mr. Wondra to point where Michael had been picked up. He pointed to a location and said that information was from what Sarah told him. Detective Kelleher testified that she believes Mr. Wondra implied that he was there, but then corrected himself to add from what Sarah told me. How was that a correction? So you misspeak, and all of a sudden you correct yourself and you're guilty of being complicit in a crime. That's what the detective is saying here. Well, shit, I'd be guilty for a lot of things. A lot of things. Especially if you were dyslexic. Could you imagine the horror? You'd be put to death for stealing a candy bar that you didn't steal, you know? At some point, Mr. Wondra tells investigators that Sarah and Brandon came back to the house on Red Wing and tell him that Michael has died, and he's pretty sure that they buried him in the backyard because that's where he saw Sarah digging. Again, with the whole infection and being diabetic, and yeah, she was digging away. He pointed to a spot on the map of the backyard in front of the line of 3 trees that are by the back fence. What a shame, that this is being believed by people. I just cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Based on the information, Detective Kelleher obtained a search warrant, and on November 12th, 2022, the entire backyard of 1102 Red Wing was excavated. Okay? Yet, that's my word here, Michael's remains were not found in the backyard. Thank you for being here. Yes, everybody, thank you. It means a lot to me. I don't care if it's 3 people. I don't care if it's 3 million. It does not matter. The fact that people are interested in here listening is what matters, because the narrative has won. The main narrative has won for now. The tables will turn, though. Thank you for being here. The channel supports justice for Michael Vaughan. Happy birthday, little buddy. Yes, we will not give up until justice is served for you. Yep. It is bullshit. I want to know why the tricycle and toy were suddenly inserted into the narrative. Probably to connect a case that was all circumstantial, and that was just something to use. They still don't know who that damn tricycle belongs to. The ISP dude testified that a potential witness told them that Dorothy said she saw Michael on one. Dorothy never actually testified to it. Yeah, they had to go and get her ass. Because she didn't testify to it until after they heard somebody else say they heard it from her. But she didn't want to put that. Detective Kelleher did not want to explain that very well. She wanted to make it look a certain way. Detective Kelleher testified that Sarah was known to drive a blue Toyota Corolla registered to Sarah and her adopted father, Ed Ramsey. K-9 units were deployed to that car but did not alert. Did not alert. So the Ontario thing is Audi 5000. The Ontario bullshit that Stacey Wondra said happened did not happen. His theory that they went to go to Ontario to sell him for something, for money. That he says Sarah got cash for. That there's cash money as a result of that. Well, obviously, that couldn't have happened. There was also a 2024 white Lexus registered to Sarah and Stacey Wondra, and that a cadaver canine alerted on that car. Yeah, and sure, that one would make you go, But you have to remember, they didn't get this Lexus. They didn't get this Lexus until 2024. 2 years after Michael went missing. And the excavation, actually, it was 3 years after Michael went missing that they finally got the Lexus. That $6,000 that JD Huff asked for, was it 2025 actually? It was either 2024, late 2024, early 2025. It doesn't matter. Way after Michael went missing. They did not get this vehicle until then. That's alarming. A lot of things could happen to this vehicle in that time frame. Right? But the most, you will not get this in these documents. This is me. The name associated with that $6,000 is what I believe is the most alarming, and I think people know it over there very well. They know that the name attached to it is what sucks for them. Not for Stacey and not for Sarah. Not for Brandon and not for Adrian. The name is attached to that. $6,000 to get that Lexus is what matters a lot. And we're not going to see that until trial. But just hold on to your butt cheeks on that one. That one's going to be a doozy. Just remember that. Keep that note. Until then. Although Detective Kelleher is the lead detective on the case, she could not say whether any further follow-up investigation or testing was conducted on that car based on the cadaver canine's response, but did admit that if such testing had been done and yielded any evidence, she certainly would have known about it. Not her admin. You would have to ask my admin. You would have to ask my admin. She did acknowledge that a piece was cut out of one of the seats, but she didn't believe anything of evidentiary value was discovered. So can we just all agree the Toyota Corolla is Audi? Like, that one doesn't matter. It's not a biggie. That didn't happen. So Stacey's theory sucks because that's out. So did he lie about the money that she allegedly got from selling Michael in Ontario? Methinks so. Methinks so. So lie number 567, check. With information from Mr. Wondra that Michael may have been transported to Cuna in the bed of the maroon GMC Sierra pickup truck, Detective Kelleher testified that they took that information very seriously and that they gave the entire truck to Idaho State Police for forensics lab for them to conduct the evidentiary testing. So everybody that thinks these people are guilty really weigh heavily on the truck theory, that this truck pulled over in front of the stop sign near Michael's home, close to the corner of Southwest 8th in Arizona. And this is the theory that makes the most sense, even though there's no evidence, okay? And the GMC truck in this theory, has to have the evidence. This is going to be the wham bam, get to jail, you did it kind of evidence. This truck would have it. And listen to what they say. The ISP, Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, was given, the truck was given to them for evidentiary testing. They located a piece of duct tape in a post hole on the driver's side of the pickup bed where Mr. Wondra indicated the duffel bag was placed. A post hole. A post hole. Do y'all know what that is? I don't want y'all to get confused. Oh, there's my dyslexia. I meant truck bed. For all of the people that drive nice Mercedes and SUVs that don't mess with those trucks. This is what a post hole is. My dad had these at one point in his work truck. Okay. They're the holes that go into the truck. I have a picture of the GMC Sierra somewhere, and it's what you would think. Maroon 2000, what was it? 1 GMC Sierra. It's one of these. I just don't have my screenshots up because they're all on a drive. But the same bars that you saw just a minute ago, that's what was on the truck. Like, not the same ones, but you know what I mean. And that's the post hole. It's tiny. Okay? You could not fit a duffel bag with a child in it. That's for damn sure. It's where the posts go. Detective Kelleher testified that she left that investigation to the experts, meaning the testing of the duct tape, but admitted that if anything of evidentiary value had been found, she would have been notified. Since she was never notified, she assumes nothing of evidentiary value was found in the truck. So this detective is so ass backwards to me, guys, because what in the hell does that mean? She was never notified, so when she isn't told something, she assumes and makes an assumption that nothing of value was found in the truck. That is scary. I would not want you searching for my child, ma'am, if that was how you thought. If you think that people are suspicious because they pulled over for a minute to get a can of chew, but they realized they locked their door and went on about their way, I can't trust you. I couldn't trust that. Then you're telling me my child is deceased when there's no evidence a crime ever occurred. No. Detective Kelleher testified that she interviewed Brandon's mother, Tina Moriel, at her residence at 1125 Snow Bell in Cuna, but that she was not very helpful nor cooperative. That was because after Chris Mendetta arrived, then she became a little... That's her words to me, guys. Don't come at me. I believe her too. Tina, I would not blame her a bit. I do not blame her a bit for what they did to her and her family. Again, she went on to testify that while she was in the house interviewing Miss Moriel, Detective Crimmin was outside in the yard with Julie Gibson. Here's Julie Gibson. And her cadaver dog, Yodi. And that Yodi alerted somewhere in the yard next to like an AC vent. But nothing of evidentiary value was found in the house or yard. When pressed, Detective Kelleher admitted that canine units were deployed in the Wondra's home at 1102 Red Wing, but did not alert. What did you say? They admitted that canine units were deployed in the Wondra's home at 1102 Red Wing, but did not alert. Well, how can that be? How can that be? She also admitted that Ada County's forensic unit searched the house and collected numerous items, but nothing of evidentiary value was discovered, although she believes Michael Vaughan was in the home. Okay. I don't get it. I don't get this. Why are we here? How did we get here? Detective Kelleher testified that nothing of significant evidentiary value was found in the electronic media, such as emails, voicemails, texts. Neither was anything incriminating discovered in any relevant social media accounts, because it was, per Stacey, the truth sayer, that it was deleted, gone. Okay. Sure, Jan. Detective Kelleher also testified that they obtained Michael's DNA as well as DNA from all members of the family. Excuse me. She acknowledged that despite their best efforts, there is no DNA evidence of any kind that connects Stacey Wondra to Michael Vaughan. Sit with that for a minute while I take a sip of water. What? There's no DNA evidence of any kind that connects Stacey to Michael? Color me shocked. During the hours of interviews, Mr. Wondra repeatedly tells detectives what he saw Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian doing, and what he surmised happened to Michael based on what he saw. He repeatedly denied having anything to do with taking Michael or his presumed death. When pressed on that, Detective Kelleher testified he stated that he fixed the truck in order for them to leave with Michael. If he wouldn't have fixed the truck, I don't believe that they could have left with Michael. Okay. Makes no sense. None. Per Juanita's own words, y'all in the back. This, however, is incorrect. Ooh, this is a direct, you're wrong, ma'am. Now it's getting juicy already. Finally. Whew. Let me stretch my back out like I'm getting ready for a boxing match, a verbal one. In the interviews, Mr. Wondra never states that he fixed the truck so that they could leave with Michael. He never says that. It's true. In fact, the truck was operational and is seen on video leaving the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m. Wait. I thought there was no video. I'm so confused. Lord help us. Miss Rue in the chat, are we okay, or are they okay? Oh, thank you. Happy birthday, Michael. That is the perfect message right now as I'm getting sassy. Let's not forget who it's really about. Happy birthday, Michael. Absolutely. And thank you so much, kids and dogs. Love ya. Okay, Mr. Wondra told Detective Kelleher, that they had left in the truck but stopped at Southwest 8th Street in Arizona. He believed they stopped so that Brandon could check to see if Michael was still alive. Okay. We're going to stop right before, not only right around the time that Tyler Vaughan is searching up and down the road. Did you see Tyler? Stacey, Brandon, Sarah? They didn't. They would have had to have. So where was he? At 7:08. They're parked right before the stop sign. Tyler testified that he was going down the dirt road off of Southwest 8th into the farm road to the haystacks, turned around. They would have met each other. Per Tyler's testimony. They would have met. They would have seen each other. They would have talked to each other. GTFO with all of this crap. It just can't happen without them seeing each other. The timeline. And this is Tyler. So Tyler, this is where things have to really come together here. Because if you didn't see them and they didn't see you, it can't be another damn coincidence. It can't be another damn coincidence. You called Brandy Neal at 7:05. Talked until 16? 11 minutes. 11 minutes. The whole ride home from Brandy working at Albertsons to get home. What were you doing? You didn't see these guys? Smoking a roach would not prevent you from seeing these guys. So I'm not understanding this. Could someone please explain that? How could they not have crossed paths? Maybe they did. And maybe that's why police really were very interested in all of this, because they weren't sure who the hell was telling the truth, because they didn't see each other or whatever. I think that they thought there was a connection to the two, in my honest opinion, or that there was something fishy that they just couldn't figure out yet. And nobody wanted to cooperate, because who does? Especially around there. I said I do not regret it. Know that. Right. Why didn't Tyler see them if he was searching so damn hard? Where were you? Where were you? You said you drove after 6:45, tearing up the house. You ordered pizza at 6:40. You realized he was missing after waking up the baby and going to set the roach. Coming back in, okay? You tore the house up for 15 minutes. You would have seen them as you were driving to the splash pad at 7 or some change, because you called Brandy at 7:05, drove to the splash pad, went down Southwest 8. Tyler, you would have fucking seen them. You would have seen them. So your story isn't checking out. There's something missing here. Per your own words. That's not good. After this brief stop, they continued to Brandon's mother's house in Cuna. Mr. Wondra told detectives that he topped off the brake fluid in the truck while they were stopped. But he never told them that he fixed the truck so that they could accomplish the purpose of taking Michael Vaughan to Cuna. This is an interpretive extrapolation of Mr. Wondra's words by Detective Kelleher. Oh, are we buffering? Okay, hold on. Thank you for letting me know. Man, I really went off. Yeah, what I'm telling the truth, right? What I was saying is that that Tyler testimony and the evidence that they have of the Wondras in Shirtlift on Southwest 8th and Arizona area at 708, they would have crossed paths. So somebody's lying about where they were or what they were doing. Something's wrong here. Tyler would have had to have seen these people and asked, "Did you see a little boy?" That's a problem. Maybe I'm muted just to kind of give the truth some time to cool off so that it won't buffer. I did that on purpose. I muted on purpose. Can you hear me better now? No, I know there's no sound. I did it on purpose. Okay. This is an interpretative extrapolation of Mr. Wandra's words by Detective Kelleher. Okay, good. I played a little trick. I know. I'm sorry. I'm mean for that. Maybe I should start lying and then it'll go back to normal. Detective Kelleher admitted on cross-examination that she attempted to use Mr. Wandra's adoptive mother, Tamara Johnson, to get more information out of him. Exhibit C, This is in essence a confrontation, this is in essence a confront phone call where Miss Johnson, at the behest of Detective Kelleher, is trying to get Mr. Wondra to confess to having a role in these events. She admitted to it. I didn't want him to feel interrogated, so I used his mom. Which is not, it is not a uncommon thing for investigators to go through family members. Like, it's not. But how you do it matters. And this holier than thou approach that she testified to ain't what it is. That's not the truth. Mr. Wondra and his mother then connected on a FaceTime call that is recorded. His mother tells him that he must be sorry for his part and that you have to be a man. Mr. Wondra is crying and says he's sorry for his part and that you have to, Mr. Wondra is crying and he says he's sorry. His mother asks him if he has confessed to his part in it, and Mr. Wondra tells her that he didn't want anything to do with it. He reiterated with her that Sarah accidentally killed Michael. He thinks Michael died from suffocation from being in the duffel bag. He thinks. So while he's lying to his mother, after saying he admitted to lying to these guys, before this, he admitted to it. He admits to his mother he lied to them to get him off his back. They didn't want to play that part. He tells his mother again that he had nothing to do with it. He tells her it was Sarah and Adrian, and he thinks Sarah was trying to appease him with the child, which makes no sense. She had a child and gave it up for adoption. Sarah did not need a child. Nor do I think she could have one. I'm not really sure. But I was always under the assumption she couldn't anyway. He goes on to tell his mother that he was out of the loop on everything, and Detective Kelleher admits that this is consistent with everything he has told the Detective Kelleher in his interviews. Alleged confession. Boy, we got a while. Let me see. Let me see what we got here. Okay, that is the transcripts. Yes, sir. And we'll go through the ones with the horrible audio. We're going to make sure that we get the full facts. I don't want to misrepresent what was said. So, and I'm sure everyone did, because you just can't hear it. Hear the audio, the court footage. All right, go back up. Sorry, guys. Just wanted to see how much longer we have. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. We're getting there. Okay. The alleged confession. In sum, 10 witnesses testified for the prosecution at the prelim hearing, and not one of them could testify with certainty to what has happened to Michael Vaughan, and he has never been found. We know that he disappeared on July 27, 2021, and that he is presumed to be dead. Beyond that, there is simply no evidence. I don't care what Stacey Wondra said somebody did or didn't do. I want to know. Prove it. Prove it. I could never hang my hat on somebody telling me my child is deceased when they can't tell me how. And prove it. And prove how. Not from some asshole who said this happened. I want to know how. How are we going to hook, line, and sinker this son of a bitch who did it? I think there is something else going on in this case. There has to be, because this is buffoonery. Really. The entirety of substantive information presented at the preliminary hearing came from Detective Juanita Kelleher. And the hours of interrogation of Stacey Wondra over 3 separate interviews at the Washington County Jail. In those interviews, Mr. Wondra told many different versions of events, and the story he told shifted was very telling. Is everything okay? What, bud? Okay. I was just making sure. Oh, my little one wants me. That's all. Hold on one second, guys. Oh, my little one wanted to give me some candy. That is the sweetest thing. He just wanted to give me some M&Ms. Okay. If anything that Mr. Wondra said is to be believed, and his statements to law enforcement are the keystone to the prosecution's case, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucian, Brandon Shurtleff entered the Wondra house with Sarah holding Michael. She sat him down on the couch. Stunned and alarmed, Mr. Wondra retreated to his bedroom because he wanted nothing to do with what was happening. Sure. While in his bedroom, he heard Michael calling for his mother and others urging him to be quiet. Then Mr. Wondra heard the sound of duct tape being unrolled and assumed that they were duct taping Michael. But he sees it, right? Or does he? Does he? Maybe? I don't know. Mr. Wondra tells detectives that in the continued state of freaking out, he retreated once again to his bedroom. Later in his interviews, he claims to have seen them gently lowering Michael into Brandon Shurtleff's red or orange duffel bag. Gently? What do you mean gently? I don't get that. How can you lower him gently when he was alive and well and would have been definitely kicking? He would not have just sat there and let this happen, this child. If you've seen the videos of that sweet boy, he would not just be like, let's go. He would fight for his life. That was the personality I think that everybody could agree on. So that, I just don't believe that. He retreated to his bedroom again. The story is all rather nebulous, but at some point, yes, it is nebulous, Sarah and Brandon decide to go to Brandon's mother's house in Cuna to tow a vehicle that Brandon wants back to the Wondras. And I have that message. Yes, I do. It has nothing to do with Michael. Nothing. Nothing. Mr. Wondra presumes that Michael is still in the duffel bag, and it seems to be heavy and lumpy, but there's no movement that he can see. Brandon puts the duffel bag in the bed of the maroon GMC truck and sits in the back seat while Sarah drives and Mr. Wondra is in the front passenger seat. Mr. Wondra says he is the MC and manages music. And the state really pulls a fast one by saying that that was to drown out Michael. That's not what Mr. Wondra said at all. That was their inference. And it's moronic. At some point, they stop, and Brandon gets out of the truck. Mr. Wondra presumes that he's checking to see if Michael is still alive. While Brandon is doing that, Mr. Wondra says he tops off the brake fluid in the truck. Brandon comes back and says Michael is still alive. In one iteration of the telling, Mr. Wondra says he can hear Michael crying and making noise when they stop. Oh my God. So which is it, Stacey? It's like saying, does he have a Pokemon shirt or a Minecraft shirt? Which one is it? Well, both, okay? Depends on the fucking day you're asking me, or minute. It doesn't make any freaking sense. I just cannot believe we're here. They resume their journey to Cuna. When they arrive, Brandon takes the duffel bag and approaches his mother's home, in an odd way that Mr. Wondra says is to avoid security cameras. Brandon returns to the truck telling Sarah and Mr. Wondra that he put the duffel bag in the spare room. They then tow Brandon's car back to the Wondras. Another big nothing burger. Agreed with that. According to Mr. Wondra, Sarah and Brandon came back into the house the next day and advised that Michael had died. Well, where did they come from? When did they leave? They came back to the Wondras' house, right? They hang out, obviously. Mr. Ian's daughter is babysat by Sarah. This is a friend of Sarah, of Stacey's. His daughter comes over the next day. I think she's 10 or 11. There's photos of her, at least legs, in the Google Maps account, the Google Photos account rather. This girl on July 28th is being babysat by Sarah Wondra. And she doesn't witness any of this stuff? What the hell? Why was that not in the probable cause? Anyway, Mr. Wondra presumes that he has died from suffocation from being in the duffel bag. He later sees what he believes is Michael in a heavy-duty black garbage bag and sees Sarah digging a hole in their backyard. He presumes they buried him there. What? Okay. Idaho people, talk to your friends. If they believe the narrative, talk to them. Don't make them look like fools out here. Talk to them. I wouldn't want to be looking like that. I surely would not. Nope. A scent-specific trailing bloodhound exhibited interest in the Wondras' home, but never entered the yard. With that information, as well as what they were told by Mr. Wondra, the entire backyard was excavated. Human remains and or cadaver dogs alerted in different locations within the yard, allegedly. That is, the two dogs whose handlers testified at the preliminary hearing did not alert in the same locations of the yard. That's not good. However, Michael's body was never found either way. Either way, never found. A friend of mine in the chat, Miss Lori, did an excellent job sending me something interesting about canines from the Idaho News 6, I believe. I think that was you. Let me make sure. I don't want to... Hold on. Maybe it was the other friend. But either way, I'm sure you knew about it too. It was about cadaver dogs and how they're not really that reliable. Oh, it was Jilly. My bad. I hope I do not buffer. I'm going to let this load for a second. Type 1 if I'm buffering or laggy. Type 2 if we're good. Because I have been buffering if I even click on something. So just let me know if it's okay right now. I'll wait. I'll wait. And this is from local news. Okay, great. Good. This is from Idaho News 6, my favorite out of the tier of Idaho news affiliates. And Idaho Statesman. Those are my two. KTVV, I can't do it. So biased. I cannot. And the other one, KIVI is okay. I really appreciate KIVI. Basically anybody but KTVV and Argus Observer can't do it. The power of the nose. Cadaver dogs have incredible abilities, but they're not infallible. So how much weight should be placed on cadaver dogs in cases where there is little to no concrete evidence of a crime? This was posted on June 15th. I had no idea this existed, so thank you, Jilly. Thank you. I had no idea. In the search for, I'm going to try I need some water, so let's try our best to do reading mode and see if it'll work today, because I need a minute. See if it'll work.
Boise, Idaho, in a search for missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan, cadaver dogs hit on a scent in the yard of murder suspect Stacey Wondra, but the dig turned up nothing. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris asking, when there's no body, just how much weight does cadaver dog evidence carry in a murder case? There's no question, this is a talented nose. A dog has 250 to 300 million scent receptor cells. We have about 5 million, says Julie Gibson, president of Mountain States Detection Dogs.
And just go for it. Yes, buffering. Okay. Hold up. Okay. What about now? We're going to get through this. Buffering or not, we'll buffer our way through this. Okay. Oh, there's a video, guys. I didn't even realize.
We start this morning with the debate over cadaver dogs and the role that they should play in murder convictions. I spoke with the experts to hear what they had to say. In a search for missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan, cadaver dogs hit on a spot in the yard of murder suspect Stacey Wondra, but the subsequent dig turned up nothing. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris asking, when there's no body, how much weight should cadaver dog evidence carry in a murder case? There's no question, this is a talented nose.
A dog has 250 to 300 million scent receptors.
In murder convictions, I spoke with the experts to hear what they had to say.
Okay, hold on, guys. I'm going to just stop. I'm going to read it. Okay. In the search for Michael Vaughan, cadaver dogs hit on the scent yard of murder suspect Stacey Wondra, but the dig turned up nothing. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris asking, where there's no body, just how much weight does cadaver dog Wow, what a delay. Terrible delay, guys. I'm so sorry. I did not know. Anyway, I should be better by now. Or getting better. Just let me know. But look, it's Julie. This article is about Michael's or Stacey Wondra's case, and she's the one that was involved in it. That's not good. Still, my God. That's not good. Still, my God. I don't sound like it's buffering. Y'all are lying to me now. Y'all are just messing with me. I'm just going to keep rolling and just keep hitting one if it's still buffering, okay? It's not playing right now, by the way. It's just me talking. I'm reading it now. So there's Julie, the one that was testifying at the prelim hearing. Yanni is one of her cadaver dogs. He's trained to detect or hit on odors from dead bodies. We start our dogs as puppies, and they're only imprinted on human remains, says Gibson. And throughout history, there's a long list of court cases where cadaver dogs, like Yanni, have found actual physical evidence, like a body, that helped lead to a conviction. But what about cases where a dog hits on a scent but nothing is found? On human remains, says Gibson. I sound good, so I don't want to see no more ones. Okay, but what about cases where a dog hits on scent but nothing is found? I asked Benjamin Blum, law professor and evidence expert at USC San Francisco. Well, they're very problematic because they raise a lot of complications in how we generally approach evidence. The thing is, we don't get to cross-examine the dog. The dog can't say, "Excuse me, madam, I do believe we have human remains detection of this specific person." They just can't do it. They are not medical examiners, are they? Every criminal defendant should be allowed to confront their accusers. And again, there's no way the defendant can confront a dog that has identified them as a culprit. That is beautifully said. I never thought to state it that way. That is amazing. You can't confront a dog. So how could this be used as evidence to convict people and put people away? I've always had a problem with that. Always. Because I wouldn't want to be, hemmed up on something I didn't do because people believed a dog over me. That would be a little scary. No offense to the dog. But yeah, that's terrifying. Despite that, he says cadaver dogs' actions can carry a lot of weight in court. I asked Gibson, that kind of evidence is very compelling. It is able to sway a jury, particularly if this is a heinous crime. Old T-Bone. Where the public is eager to find a culprit. This is, okay, ding, 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 ding. This is Michael Vaughan's case. This is the heinous crime where the public is eager to find a culprit. This is the one. And this is all the evidence we have to hang on to. Ding fucking ding. This professor, Benjamin, I need your number. I won't cuss as much if we speak on this topic. But that is exactly right. I asked Gibson if there is a predisposition in court cases to accept dog sniff evidence. No, I do not. She took that personally. I think in court it's our job to prove that our dogs are correct. You can't do that. Julie, you can't do that. That's what the forensics are for. You said that yourself on the stand, Miss Gibson. You have to do that along with the evidence. And honestly, you shouldn't know about the evidence because that's a problem. You shouldn't know about it. You should just accept the fact that this is not the acceptable approach, perhaps. Maybe this is like the polygraph. Maybe dogs can help, like the polygraph helps detectives aid in their investigation, but we don't be using it to convict people of murder. No offense to dogs. I do believe in their ability to scent. I also believe that humans who have control over these dogs can mess it up, can mess that final alert up. It's called something like the Messiah effect or the Hans something effect, where the handler is accidentally cueing the dog to alert when it never should have happened in the first place. So, what a wonderful article. And I'm not even halfway done. She's worked with scent dogs for 33 years, and she says she keeps impeccable records because showing her regular training routine is key to credibility in the courtroom. This article comes out at a very interesting time. I wonder if she got the whiff, get it? The whiff that her credibility might be questioned in trial, which you would just automatically assume that as a witness. You're going to be scrutinized by the defense, but I think this is to get ahead of it. Or the failure to, perhaps. They interviewed a witness in this preliminary hearing. They're talking about Michael's case specifically. This isn't good. I mean, good on Miss Rowland. Thank you so much for covering this. I appreciate that. But Julie, of all people, he interviews, the one that was the witness at the prelim hearing, who deployed Yodi and Bannock in the backyard of 1102 Red Wing. This is crazy. Her dogs practice regularly on things like finding buried human remains or residual scent in vehicles. That is a lie. That is not even, you cannot certify your dog in residual scent. The FBI even states that this is an incredibly difficult thing to maneuver around because residual scent is a farce. Scientifically, what I mean by that is residual scent, it's like you smell, let me put this in a respectful way, but it's the truth. You put rotten chicken, okay? You smell rotten chicken for 3 days. You find it, Lord have mercy, how did it get there? We got to move it out. Boom, we move it. Do you think after 3 years or even a year and a half that chicken smell would still be there? No. There's no way. Residual scent can only last up to a week after the removal of it. Per the scientists. Scientists are saying this, not Eve. How can you sit there and say residual scent? You have to be more specific, ma'am. You have to say immediate residual scent or 24 to 48 hour to 72 hour scent. There is no residual scent years later. It doesn't exist. Scientifically, it does not happen. But our methodology may not be the same as another trainer. In fact, there are 3 main certification boards to train cadaver dogs across the U.S., which is something that worries Bloom. Of course, it should be one universal standard. Just like whenever you go get your doctorate and you want to practice medicine, you got to go through a specific Board of Medical Examiners Association to get what you need, your licensing, right? This is worrisome. Until we fully understand how dogs work and how their sense of smell works, we should probably keep them away from juries. Thank you, Mr. Bloom, whatever. No disrespect intended. But exactly. You can love dogs all day. You could love the fact that a dog fit your theory that you thought of a case and nailed this son of a bitch that you thought was guilty, okay? That should not matter at all. I think people don't want to let this go because, first of all, it's a multi-million-dollar industry. Dogs. Scent dogs and all of that. But they do good things too. I do believe that they're useful, but they should not be convicting people based on circumstantial evidence, because it's really just the dog saying, yep, we're confirming what the detectives may have thought without actually proving anything. I believe that. Gibson, Gibson is confident in the ability of her dogs, but leaves it up to the courts how much weight they should carry in a circumstantial murder case. Well, that's so convenient when you're sitting in your nice house with your lattes and your doggies. You're not the one on trial. Honestly, it would depend, explains Gibson. I mean, there are a lot of circumstances that go with that. There are new developments in technology that may someday allow a machine to confirm scent findings from cadaver dogs. Would you please? I'd rather have a machine convict somebody than humans with dogs that are very erroneous sometimes in their handling of dogs. Meaning, what I mean by that is false alerts. False final responses. But until they are proven to work, it will have to remain up to the judges and the juries how much stock to put into irrefutable testimony. If they can't get a machine, if they can't prove a machine to be working, meaning the scent machine for cadaver scent, how the hell are we hemming up people in the courts on humans who handle dogs that are they're full of errors all the time? We are not perfect human beings. This is really, really such an amazing article. Jilly, thank you so much for sharing this, because this is what I've been trying to say terribly. This is perfect. Short and sweet. There's no way around it. I'm going to post this video later tonight so that everybody can watch it if you forget or whatever, or just to have it. I'm going to post this video because I can't play it right now. It'll buffer me. But that is something, isn't it? That is something. In all of Mr. Wondra's various conflicting statements, never once did he admit to being involved in anything to do with Michael Vaughan's kidnapping and presumed murder. Although the various tellings of his story changed repeatedly, there's one thing that never changes. He is always consistent about the fact that he had nothing to do with what Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon were allegedly, my word, allegedly involved in. And he was horrified by what he was seeing. Detective Kelleher testified both on direct and on cross that she believed Mr. Wondra was involved. Her opinion, however, is not evidence. Preach. Mr. Duke, the prosecuting attorney, frequently referred to Mr. Wondra's interviews as confessions. They were not. So true. His statements were wholly related to what he saw others doing. Or was a big fat lie. And what he presumed happened to Michael based on what he saw, allegedly. These are present sense impressions. Not once did he admit to being involved directly with what happened to Michael Vaughan. If Mr. Wondra confessed to anything, it was to being a coward and not stopping what was happening or not reporting it. Mr. Wondra had no duty to report. Now, again, people are so confused about this. This is not based on what the defense believes Stacey did or did not do. That's not what this is about. What they're saying is that the prosecution is alleging their theory, and he's refuted. The defense is refuting that theory based on if it weren't fact. So let's just say there was a crime that the prosecution's alleging. He didn't confess to anything. Mr. Wondra had no duty to report. Mr. Wondra had no legal obligation to either stop or report what he was seeing. He was not someone who would be deemed a mandatory reporter. Some professionals, in some circumstances, are required to report information that they have received that may lead to great bodily harm or death. Mr. Wondra does not fit any of those categories. For purposes of the events that occurred during Michael Vaughan's disappearance, he was simply a citizen with no duty to stop or to report what he was seeing. If Mr. Wondra is to be believed, huge statement there. If you believe this doo-doo, what he was a witness to was truly offensive and horrific. It may offend the morale or ethical code we feel we should have toward our fellow human beings, particularly a child, of course. However, as offended or as horrified as we may be, and as wholly violative of our sense of outrage as his lack of actions in sight, Mr. Wondra still legally had no obligation to act. As a mother, that would infuriate me. I understand that. I would totally understand that. Convict this son of a bitch because he's morally corrupt. But we don't do that. That's not... He has no obligation to report anything. Albeit, if it really happened, which it didn't, in my opinion. But if we are to believe Mr. Wondra, he had no obligation. State's accomplice theory. In his closing argument at the preliminary hearing on March 5th, 2026, the state argued that Mr. Wondra acted as an accomplice, sharing with Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon a community of purpose to kidnap Michael Vaughan. In furtherance of this argument, he cited 2 Idaho cases. In Cincinnati, the defendant was convicted as an accomplice of burglary in the first degree. Evidence adduced at trial established that Cincinnati and his passenger Kay Dennison dropped 16-year-old Charles Chuck off at a Taco Time restaurant in Boise. Is that like Taco Casa? What is Taco Time? I have never heard of that before, but I would assume it's like a Taco Casa in the South. Somebody let me know, because I have no idea what that is. Cincinnati and Dennison then drove around for 15 to 20 minutes. In that time, Cincinnati told Dennison that Clark was the stealingest man in the country and that he would help him if he could, to keep him from getting in trouble. They returned to the alley behind the restaurant, and Dennison testified to hearing a metallic scraping noise in the alley, and that Cincinnati said, "That is a whole trash can. He got the whole safe." They picked Clark up and left. Dennison also testified that while Clark was in the car, he had gloves and a pry bar of some sort. Much of the argument in this case before the Supreme Court centered around Dennison's testimony as an accomplice herself and whether her testimony was sufficiently corroborated. The opinion does, however, discuss what is required for the defendant to be convicted of a crime under an accomplice theory of the case. The court stated that an accomplice is a person concerned in the commission of a crime, whether he directly participates in the commission of the act constituting the offense or aids and abets in its commission, or not being present has advised or encouraged its commission. So you would say, in this case law, I wasn't present, but we really want you to do that crime. Even though I wasn't here, I really want you to go kidnap Michael. That's kind of like the example that I see, which I had never heard in his interviews with law enforcement or a confession of that kind. It's like Taco Bell. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. I'll have to try it when I'm up there. An accomplice is a responsible person whose willful participation in the commission of a crime, when the fact is established by competent evidence in a court of requisite jurisdiction, renders him liable to a conviction of the offense. So a lot of case law talk, which is kind of boring, but basically, mere presence at, acquiescence in, or silent consent to the commission of an offense is not, in the absence of a duty to act, legally sufficient. So just being there is not enough legally, however reprehensible it may be. To constitute once a principal, an accessory, an aider or abettor, or an accomplice. An accomplice is one who is joined or united with another, one of several concerned in a felony, an associate in a crime, one who cooperates, aids, or assists in committing it. Yeah, the kidnapping already happened by the time, per Stacey's words, that already happened prior to his knowledge of Michael. Allegedly, when he realizes Michael is a thing or a situation in his home, that had already occurred. So the kidnapping is, I mean, unless you're saying that there was 2 events of a kidnapping, Mike Duke, how can you say that? So this is, I guess, where it gets a little squirrely. Because is the kidnapping a continuous thing? Is it from the moment he was allegedly kidnapped? That it was never seen on CCTV footage of? That Tyler never saw at 7:08 p.m. Anybody, parked on the side of the road? Tyler, did you? That would be very helpful. How could that have happened from Stacey, the one being charged right now? Does the kidnappings, what's the element of a kidnapping when it starts and stops? I guess that would be a question that maybe would be important. Because how could you kidnap a child from one point, right? You have to have the kidnapping element for the murder. So is the kidnapping from the entire time that it started to his last breath? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand, and I don't think that I'm saying it well, but hopefully you guys are understanding me. A mere mental state of uncommunicated consent or acquiescence on the part of a bystander where a crime is being instigated is not sufficient to make him an accomplice. Some aiding, abetting, or actual encouragement on his part is essential. He's got to say, do it, do it. I want to help you kidnap Michael. This is what I was trying to say to people, in videos prior. I was trying to make the point that Stacey never admits to, or there's no evidence of him instigating a kidnapping, which is what I think you need in this case. Like, he has to be the aggregator in some way. And he's stating that he doesn't know if he's alive or not, while he's, getting sold in Ontario, right, by Sarah and Adrian. He doesn't know if he's alive while on the way to Cuna and stops on Southwest 8th right in front of Michael's home, where Tyler could be walking up any minute, allegedly. But I think that's the complication, right? Yeah. Stacey Wondra's conduct, even by his own statements, are distinguishable from the witnessed innocent or the defendant sentencing. To face accomplished liability, a defendant must be a person concerned in the commission of a crime by directing, participating, or advising or encouraging its commission. He allegedly says, go call the police. That's what we should be doing right now. I don't want no part in this. But we got to go get Brandon's car. So y'all have your business. I got my business with Brandon. We're separate entities here. That didn't happen. Either you have to be by direct participation or advising or encouraging its commission. Unlike Cincinnati, who knew what Clark was doing, dropped him off and picked him up and admitted that he'd helped him to keep him from getting in trouble, there's no evidence that Mr. Wondra knew of, participated in, or advised and encouraged the commission of kidnapping Michael. That was what I was trying to explain for a few months now. How are you going to prove a kidnapping was at the behest in any way, shape, or form of Stacey? You can't. Not with anything they've said happened. To the contrary, his only concern was his abhorrence and horror at what he saw happening. If you believe, if you are so inclined to believe this MFer in the first place. Further, such person's participation must be willful and be one who is joined or united, an associate in crime. Cincinnati's own words and actions show that his assistance of Clark's crime was willful. He was associated with Clark in the theft of the safe. Unlike here, there's no evidence that Mr. Wondra was willingly engaged in participation in the crime of kidnapping or joined or united with Sarah, Adrian, and Brendan in purpose. He told investigators that he repeatedly told them to let the child go or to call police. Yeah, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Don't drag me into this mess. But I'm the one charged first. Mr. Wondra's involvement in what happened to Michael Vaughan was that he was present in the home when he saw Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon come into the house with Michael. Alleged crime of kidnapping. Oh no, I think I am muted or something. Hold on. Can y'all hear me? I might have to end the stream, guys, and start anew later. Can you hear me? Anyone? Oh wait, I got a big delay, so let me know. I gotta go to my phone and see, because I think I'm frozen. I gotta go to my phone and see, because I think I'm frozen. Nope, I'm not. That was me. We're good. Onward. Oh, I guess I better pause myself. Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Eve. Mr. Wondra's involvement in what happened to Michael Vaughan was that he was present in the home when he saw Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon come into the house with Michael. The crime of kidnapping had already taken place, and he was not involved in any way. What he saw horrified him to his eternal shame. As he told his mother in the FaceTime call, he was scared and he was a coward, and then asked for that money. Yes, he did. Can Dad put the money on the books for me being, finally coming forward? Because that's the kind of guy Stacey is. These are not the elements of a crime in Idaho. His mere presence at or acquiescence in or silent consent to the commission of these actions by the others, reprehensible as we may feel that to be, is not legally sufficient for accomplice liability. As outlined by the court, an accomplice is one who joins or unites with another, is an associate, or who cooperates, aids, or assists. Mr. Wondra did none of those things. I'm going to skip a little bit of this because it's getting redundant. Actually, I'm going to go over this. This is important. Similar to Cincinnati, Colpitts is another case in which the defense attempted to have a witness classified as an accomplice by the court rather than allowing the jury to make that determination. Which is so crucial because there's 3 other freaking suspects here, right? Since under Idaho law, an accomplice's testimony cannot support the defendant's conviction unless other evidence tending to connect the defendant to the crime corroborates the accomplice's testimony. Oh, shit. That's a big case law. Example, that is big. You can't support the defendant's conviction with anything other than the evidence to connect that to the testimony. There isn't any. Wow. I'm glad I didn't skip that. That is so big. Cassie Madsen was the witness in question. Madsen drove Colpitts to the home of Samantha Fignani, where Colpitts shot and killed Fignani for allegedly having a romantic relationship with her boyfriend and the father of one of Colpitts' children. Oh, my Lanta. That is crazy. Thanks, Acres, the 120 Acres. Thank you for being here, love. The trial court ruled that there was a genuine issue whether Madsen was an accomplice or not and submitted that the issue to the jury for resolution. The Supreme Court affirmed that determination. In the Colpitts' opinion, however, there is a great deal of discussion by the court of what it means to be an accomplice. The court first pointed out Idaho Criminal Jury Instruction 313, which defines an accomplice. Oh, my lordy. It reads, an accomplice is a person who intends to promote or assist in the commission of a crime and who either directly commits the acts constituting the crime of who, before or during its commission, aids, assists, facilitates, promotes, encourages, counsels, solicits, invites, helps, or hires another to commit the crime. Mere presence, acquiescence in, silent consent to the planning or commission of a crime is not, in the absence of a duty to act, sufficient to make one an accomplice. The court also quoted this State versus Scroggins, very important. Some aiding, abetting, or actual encouragement on the part of the person charged is essential to make that person an accomplice. Finding, aiding, and abetting first-degree murder requires proof that the accomplice shared the principal's criminal intent. That basically Stacey wanted this to happen and was hoping that they would act on his want. There's no proof of that. So awesome. That's helpful. So Madsen drove Colpitts to Fignani's house, drove her away following the shooting, but testified that while she saw a gun, she didn't know Colpitts had the gun until she saw her pull it from her sweatpants to shoot Fignani. Madsen also testified that she did not know Colpitts intended to shoot Fignani and that Madsen herself did not intend to harm or have physical altercation with Fignani. Basically, this witness was like, I didn't know that was going to go down. I didn't ask her to do it. Didn't want to do it. I had no idea. The court rejected the argument that Madsen should have been deemed an accomplice as a matter of law because, again, she said she didn't know. The appellate courts have previously rejected that a witness is an accomplice as a matter of law where the witness claimed only to be involved as a bystander, did not actively participate in the charged crime, was convicted of a separate distinct crime, or did not share the defendant's criminal intent. This is huge. That is going to be important, in my opinion, for this motion to dismiss. That was me. Okay, you can still hear me. Yeah, that's a big deal. Because it's exactly what Stacey is alleging. If this even was a thing. If it actually happened. So, like Cincinnati, Colpitts is a case that aids Mr. Wondra's argument that he was not an accomplice in the kidnapping of Michael Vaughan. The witness at issue in Colpitts drove her to the victim's house, knew that there might be a fight, and drove her away from the scene of a shooting, but was still not determined to be an accomplice. So she was around, she was into the thick of it, but she did not want that, nor did she ask for that to happen. Just like Stacey is alleging in his quote-unquote confession. I didn't ask for no kidnapping. I didn't ask to be a part of it. it happened. And I was shocked, horrified, terrified. That was his part of it. And that cannot be an accomplice. So the kidnapping element of accomplice is out of there. If you don't have kidnapping, you don't have murder. If you don't have the second degree kidnapping, you do not have the murder. That's what I'm getting. Right? Let me know what you think in the chat and in the comments. If you're watching the replay, hit that like button while you're here. Where are we going with this? Culprits is a case that aids Mr. Wondra's argument. Yeah, I read that. Madsen was only involved in the culprit shooting of Fignani as a bystander, did not actively participate, like I just said, yeah. It could be argued that Mr. Wondra is even further removed from accomplice liability than either Dennison, Cincinnati, or Madsen, because unlike them, he had no idea what Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon were doing until they walked into the home with a kidnapped child, allegedly. The crime had already been completed, the kidnapping. So I guess that answers my question. When does the kidnapping start and stop? I always assumed it was when the child was deceased, meaning the other crime, the murder charge. But I'm still a little confused. Maybe we should keep reading. Mr. Wondra said Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon walk in the house with Michael, claims to have heard them duct taping him to have seen his feet, hands, and mouth duct taped, to have seen them put Michael in Brandon's duffel bag and drove them, presumably with Michael still in the duffel bag, in the back of the truck to Brandon's mother's house. He did not actively participate in the crime of the kidnapping, did not share Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon's criminal intent, or assist or encourage them in any way. Where's the footage of them coming back into the neighborhood at 11-something at night? If you have Stacey and Sarah and Brandon on CCTV footage driving out of the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m., was there a child or a duffel bag in the back of the truck? Did you get that CCTV footage? Did you get it from Whitley Court's cameras? Did you get it from any of the Southwest 8th Street cameras? You damn sure got the Arcadia lady, poor Sue, 70-year-old woman, going to jail. I get it, but come on now. Yeah. What does that mean? CCTV footage of her, but we're still trying to figure out if Michael was in the back of the truck or not. Okay. All right. He did not actively participate in the crime of kidnapping, did not share their criminal intent or assist and encourage them in any way. Interestingly, the court in both these cases distinguished their cases from this other one, State versus Emmons, a case in which the Idaho Supreme Court ruled that the disputed witness, Randy, was in fact clearly an accomplice as a matter of law. The state charged Emmons with grand larceny for taking a typewriter from a that made me laugh. Charged Emmons with grand larceny for taking a typewriter from a station wagon. Emmons, you rascal. You're the thievingest man in, where is it? Idaho. How could you do that? Grand larceny. Oh, that tickled me. So Randy testified that Emmons took the typewriter from the station wagon. Randy and another person this is Idaho for you. It's I don't know for me. Randy and another person took a briefcase and copier machine from the station wagon, and the three unloaded the goods and put them in the house. At the close of evidence, happy birthday, Michael Vaughan. Happy birthday. At the close of evidence, Emmons moved for a directed verdict based on this code, arguing that Randy was an accomplice and that no evidence corroborated Randy's testimony. The district court denied the motion and submitted the accomplice issue to the jury. Emmons was convicted and he appealed. Those typewriters go for a pretty penny these days. They're collectibles now. The Idaho Supreme Court reversed Emmons' conviction and concluded that it was the goods. Yeah. I'm sorry. The Idaho Supreme Court reversed Emmons' conviction and concluded that it was inescapable that Randy assisted in looting the station wagon and willfully participated in hiding the stolen goods. And that the only logical and reasonable conclusion was Randy was an accomplice, despite the fact that he took that briefcase and Emmons was only charged with taking the typewriter. Damn. Randy's conduct in Emmons is very different from Mr. Wondra, night and day, it seems. Randy knew the crime was happening, engaged in it, and shared Emmons' criminal intent by taking items from the station wagon and helped to hide the goods in the house. Get the goods, get the follow my lead. Flip the collar. Follow my lead. We're going to get this typewriter right now. You get the typewriter. I'll get the briefcase. I guess I'll grab the other thing. The other stolen goods. And we'll call it a day. Mr. Wondra's conduct could not have been more different. He did not know what was happening until the kidnapping had already occurred. He neither promoted nor assisted in the commission of the crime, and neither did the counsel encourage or solicit others to do so. Or did he counsel encourage or solicit others to do so? The fact that this went to the court, the Supreme Court, is fantastic. It's wonderful. That tickles me to no end. It really does. Anyway, okay, moving on. It is important to note that in the affidavit of probable cause for Mr. Wondra's arrest that Detective Kelleher prepared, she states that Mr. Wondra told her that he was only involved because he assisted Sarah in transporting Michael Vaughan after Michael had already been abducted. Stacey claims Adrian was going to find a buyer for Michael and was to be paid $25,000. That is straight up trafficking, by the way. So why would they not charge for trafficking? Do you have to prove that money was exchanged? I think so. So this is horse manure. Stacey explained that he was going to be paid $10,000 for his and Sarah's part. However, after Michael was abducted, Michael accidentally died of asphyxiation, and Stacey, assisted Sarah in hiding the body and disposing of evidence. This is what Kelleher says. This is incorrect. You wrong. You wrong. Ryan Higgy style. In an interview not played at the prelim hearing that was conducted on January 22nd, 2023, Mr. Wondra, with his federal defender in attendance, Mr. Monahan, talked with detectives about Sarah and Adrian scheming about kidnapping a child to sell for money, and that they were talking about trying to get $25,000, $10,000 of which he would give to Sarah and Stacey. So wait. I flew through that, not listening to a word I was saying. I'm so sorry. This interview was not played at the prelim hearing. This is important. Highlight. So are you telling me, whoever wrote this beautiful thing, are you telling me They lied. That Detective Kelleher lied. Thank you, Kids and Dogs Unattended. It's been wonderful. Thank you. I cannot sugarcoat this anymore. It's punches. Gut punches and kicks. Roundhouse kicks to the face at this point. Enough is enough. Okay, let me start over. I'm sorry. In an interview not played at the preliminary hearing that was conducted on January 22nd, 2023, Mr. Wondra, with his federal defender in attendance, talked with detectives about Sarah and Adrian scheming about kidnapping a child to sell for money, and that they were talking about trying to get $25,000, $10,000 of which he would give to Sarah and Stacey. I'm having a really hard time understanding that. This was January 22nd, 2023. So this was after the whole alleged confession with Tom Monahan, his federal defender for his federal crimes. So his federal defender was in attendance on January 22nd. What is that date? Oh, I know the importance. Because that was about the time that he was trying to get a plea deal started on the courts with what he was talked to with police. Remember, some of you might, when I went through all of Stacey's federal court stuff, and it was long and drawn out, and it was so boring, I know, like this one probably is. However, it was crucial to do that for this very reason, because it proves the movements of what was going on in Michael's case and in the investigative process with Stacey and the federal stuff. So, like I've been saying to you guys, the federal stuff is important. There's something going on there that we don't know about. So, again, the interview not played at that prelim hearing that was conducted on January 22nd, 2023. Mr. Wondra, with a federal defender in attendance, talked with detectives about Sarah and Adrian scheming about kidnapping a child to sell for money, and that they were talking about trying to get $25K or $10K, of which he would give to Sarah and Stacey. This is Adrian. They're talking about saying this to them. But again, Mr. Wondra is telling detectives what he heard Sarah and Adrian talking about. There is no indication that he believed they were serious, and he never admits to being involved in their scheming. So I'm confused. Stacey, what do you fucking mean? Did it actually happen? Did that conversation actually happen or not? Right? Further, Mr. Wondra never states that he assisted Sarah, Adrian, or Brandon in hiding the body or disposing of evidence. I'm just really reeling about this section. I think that this is the point where he has his attorney, his federal attorney, talk it out, right, with the whole Adrian and Sarah scheming to make money, right? Obviously. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, I need more context. Did Stacey say that that was a lie, or did that conversation in fact happen at all? If it did, that's a problem, right? If it didn't, right, it makes more sense. Did it happen or not? I've always been told over and over again, no. I was told this. But I think there's some truth to it in a different light. I do think that there's something weird, not about Michael being kidnapped, but doing some exploitive shit with Snapchat. I do believe there's some truth in it. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't think we're gonna know yet, but there's something fishy, right? I don't think that this is the story. But I think part of the baseline is there's something to it. Meaning, another crime of exploiting people out of money on Snapchat, perhaps. Right? Okay, if what Mr. Wondra said is to be believed by his own statements, the most that can be said is that he had a mere mental state of uncommunicated consent or acquiescence in his role as a bystander. As the Supreme Court in Cincinnati makes clear, in citing numerous other cases, this is not sufficient to make a defendant an accomplice to a crime. Actual aiding, abetting, and or encouragement are essential, and that does not exist in this case as applied to Mr. Wondra. Based on the arguments articulated above, Mr. Wondra respectfully requests that this court find them that the magistrate court erred when it determined that the state presented sufficient evidence to establish probable cause that Mr. Wondra committed the crimes of first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping. Therefore, this court should dismiss the information. I agree. I agree 100%. I think it was a good motion to dismiss. Now, of course, you know me. I would have, this is why I'm not a professional and I'm just some asshole on the internet. I would have went ham. Way more ham. But that's not the point of these motions to dismiss. They're not to be rude, and it's not to be right. It's to be thorough, and it's to be correct based on the law and what it requires and the rulings that have been made in the past via or AKA case law. So again, I probably would have done a horrible job because too much of something is not always a good thing. I think it was a good choice to go after the points that the defense made. But they do have the entire transcript available for anyone who is interested in reading that on their own or going through it, because you can't hear some of the stuff on there. Hi, Lanny. Good to see you, love. We're wrapping up now. But I think that this was a really good motion to dismiss. I think they made their points very clear. Yep, here is the probable cause affidavit attached as the memorandum. And is this Sarah's or is this Stacey's? Okay, it's Stacey's. What else do we got here before I let you go? There's zero evidence, guys. This really, I still cannot believe we're here. No evidence that a crime ever occurred. And we're out here hooked on the belief that he is deceased. And what if he isn't? What if he isn't? Could you go to sleep at night with the mere facts laid out as we speak here? And if it was your child, could you hang your hat on what the police are saying happened? I could not. I don't think a reasonable person would either. A mother or a father or a family unit. I don't. That's just me. Unless there was some knowledge that would confirm it. You know what I mean? And I am not going to refer to Michael as deceased because there's no evidence he is. You can assume that, which is understandable, but you don't know. This is a child. Wilder things have happened where they were found 10, 20 years later, whatever the case may be. I don't know what to say. I could never convict. On the other hand, I could never convict somebody that was accused of all of these things, even saying what he said. I could not convict somebody on the fact that they're part of a murder and kidnapping. That's how you get hung juries. That's exactly how you get hung juries when everything is so circumstantial. Because you're going to have people say, wait, the kidnapping couldn't have happened. Because he said, nobody is saying that he did this. It's all Stacey's words. If the other three commit to what they have said or alleged to being innocent, and they never confess to anything, and there's no evidence, you're never going to get a conviction on anybody. And you shouldn't, if there's nothing to support what's been said out of someone's mouth that is prone to false confession by the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit's own words. I'm a little nervous. That the real perpetrator is laughing their asses off at this. Watching this innocent dude and his friends, ex-wife, go down for something they didn't do. That's terrifying to me. There's real killers out there, or I can't say killers. Thank you again, 250 joules. I need to learn these things because I don't know what that means. I know you gifted something. I'm that behind on all of that. But thank you so much. What if he's trafficked? What if he's in another country? Like, if he's still alive? And I know that hope is dangerous. But you go look at Andrea Knabel's father, who would sleep for maybe 5 hours a week at some point for 500 days and then finally couldn't stand it anymore. He was so tired. Oh, thank you, Mr. Eve. I don't know what that means except for the bus in front of a goalie, but thank you. I know that that's important. I just don't know what it means. Thank you. Park the bus. I am showing my age right now. Thank you. Both. Yeah, that's where I'm at. It's almost over 3.5 hours. I'm going to let you lovely people go. This really sucks. I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more relief. But Michael is still yet to be found. Guys, it's just the games and the hatred being played still. It's even worse now than ever. Innocent people, once again, are being accused of something they didn't do, getting bullied at their work, getting calls. I'm getting threats. It's the same old shebang as always for supporting the truth or the lack thereof, trying to find it, right? When does it stop? When does it just stop? It's when you get to the kernel of truth that breaks this whole thing wide open and crumbles the narrative to its knees. And I think it's time. I do. I think this is the year. And I hope that everybody supports that. I really do, because it's coming. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I cannot tell you how much it means to me. You have no idea. All right. Look out for the video of the one that I couldn't play with Julie Gibson, of all people, being interviewed by Idaho 6. And more lives to come, guys. Trial is on the September 16th. That's when it starts, and there's a slew of pretrial hearings before then. So keep an eye out. I, of course, will keep you updated. Much love. You know, as I say, drink your water, hug your babies, your fur babies, hug yourself, get some rest. And I'll see you on the next live. Bye now.
Gone somewhere and dyed my hair now. much to bear, and you don't care, and I won't play alone. I got you in my sight.